Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 378. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, joined alongside Johnny V.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Things are a little bit slower in the disc golf community. And, of course, we'll touch on any subjects or topics that have come up, namely, we'll say 2018 World Champ as of just a few hours ago.
Greg Barsby.
Yes, thank you. I was slipping on that. Greg Barsby has been announced as having a 3-year contract extension with one Innova Champion Disc.
Is this new for Innova? Is it... Because we've always heard in the past, Innova, it's always a handshake deal, and it's a 1 year. So is this an official 3-year contract? Do we know, or is it kind of 3 years with an option every year?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Those are things I'd love to ask Greg, because you don't know squat.
No, I usually don't, unless I'm actually in their town and able to just hide out around their windowsill from the bushes. I usually don't know all of the details, but it is listed as a 3-year deal, like you're saying. A lot of the contracts for many years within disc golf were single-year deals, and like you mentioned, more or less a handshake. That has certainly evolved over the last 5 to 7 years or so, and they're getting a lot more serious, including the multiple-year action. So that's what we're seeing, though, from Greg. It wasn't announced as a multi-million-dollar deal, which I think I do want to still catch up with Drew. I know you're listening, Drew. Call in a little later tonight. We'd love to catch up and get more of those specifics and details, mainly because we're nosy and everybody else wants to know. But so that's happening. Not too much on any of the other signings and dealings. We know there's some secrets going on behind the scenes. We'll see if some of those will come out and we can share some of those tonight, but probably not. But instead, we're going to give you the goods because we are going to catch up with Dynamic Disc's own AJ Risley. And in fact, I think he's even ready to go right away. AJ, are you there?
Hey, Terry. I'm here.
Hi.
Hi.
How is it going?
It's going good. Well, I should say.
AJ coming in
no,
right
I've
from
already
1977. It's this newfangled technology we have.
Yeah, for real. The time machine. You found it.
I found the time machine. Dad, is that you?
That's what happens when you step inside the SmashBoxx. I've finally done it. I finally stepped inside the SmashBoxx, and now I'm re-emerging.
Yes.
Well, we're happy to have you.
We are. We're certainly happy to have you. You, of course, if we get right into it, you, of course, had a year in that you were mostly sidelined. And then we kind of finally saw you healthy enough to be able to come out and compete near the end of the year. I think you ended up playing in maybe four or five PDGA events. And let's start with it in terms of how are you feeling today? Right now, describe any kind of feelings or injuries, physical feelings maybe, and injuries. We can get into emotional, but start with the physicality. How are you feeling right now? How's your body?
My body feels pretty good. I would say if I had to rate it 1 to 10, I would say maybe a 7. I've been exercising a lot for the past month since I've been home. But I haven't been throwing, at least with my right hand. I haven't been throwing. I took some advice from a chiropractor that I worked with earlier this year, Dr. Dan, and he told me after the season's done, take 8 weeks and shut down the wrist. And so right now I think I'm in week 5 of 8 weeks. So yeah, I'd say physically my right arm, it feels strong. I've been doing a lot of wrist exercises and other shoulder exercises, so it's feeling strong. I'm doing a lot of massaging and rolling and icing as well as exercise. So things feel good. I've been walking a lot too, but I haven't been playing disc golf as much. So yeah.
Yeah, and some would ask, off season means something a little bit different to every single one of our players now. Whether that's Yeah, I think back all the way to the very drastic days of Nate and Val Doss, for instance, and they'd say after USDGC, they'd get home,
Shut it down.
and literally take their disc golf bags and put them in a closet, and they may not reemerge for months, these disc golf bags. And that's how much they really shut down, so to speak, in the off season. So we know that it means, and for some other people like a C-Dick, Chris Dickerson, that means, hey, I'm only going to play 2 A tiers or 3 A tiers this month. I'm not going to play 4. So for you, when you think about the off season, I mean, this is not throwing and not actively doing those things. I mean, it's off season, but it's still off season training at its fullest, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, just about every weekday I'm trying to get in some kind of workout. So yeah, I'm definitely doing a lot of off-season training. But yeah, I mean, you make a great point. Yeah, every athlete has a different approach. I think that just has to do with each individual's upbringing and their regimens and routines and how they feel throughout the season as well as at the end of the season.
Well, and without getting, I'll say, too invasive or nosy here, every player, I think their offseason also maybe is a little bit dictated by what their contracts, what their agreements, their financial situation, whether it's a savings and or an off-season workload or whatever. Everybody's a little different there. Do you find that you're in a solid position here in the off-season and that you're able just to focus basically on your body?
I think currently, yes, I'm in a good position. The past 2 years have been really good for me financially, but I mean, on a relative scale, I'm not a millionaire or anything. But for me in my life, yeah, I'm comfortable right now. But yeah, I'll be honest, I got some work to do this next year and this next season, to stay afloat. I guess I could put it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, we all know that.
Well, that means different things again to different people because
right.
You could not take top 5 at a single event, but have a phenomenal social media following, have a phenomenal presence, and sell a lot of plastic and be just fine. Or you could have a mediocre social media following and take a bunch of top 5s and survive off of disc golf winnings. I mean, there's multiple ways for a player these days to really make their way. I've been watching a lot of Succession lately, so I really want to. I wanted to use a different term as far as how you made your way, but we'll save that for the after show.
I like that. How you make your way. What's that show about? I've only heard about it. I haven't seen anything.
It's basically, imagine the family behind like a giant multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, like a Fox News or a CNN, and they're extremely wealthy. And the father just constantly says, "Get your nut." Like that's how you get your nut. And
okay,
that's literally what I wanted to say, and was withdrew from
great refrain.
And now it's out there. So
oh man,
AJ, get your nut.
Yeah,
I think I can say that.
All right, I'm
just get it.
Like I said, I've that's the work that I'm doing is finding ways to get my nut, and yeah, I've got some things brewing that ways to get my nut and how to make my way.
Okay,
there you go.
Sorry,
no,
either one.
Slipped a couple nuts in there.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Dang it.
We're
it's
good
the
for
off
that
season.
here.
We can do that.
Yeah, we're good for that here.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that just a little bit and talk about some of the things that really entice you or are appealing to you that are in addition to playing well on the course. We know you love to perform and play well. Everybody does that's out there at that level. However, that's not the end all be all to AJ Risley. You've got a degree and you're talented in many ways. What are some of the other things that you're looking to either develop or to continue to dive into, or avenues you're looking to make your way down as you're doing things outside of just what happens on the course?
Well, I mean, I've a few different ways to make, but I would say clinics. I'm starting to think more and more about clinics, and more about teaching. Um, Over the past few months of playing a bit less, and but still going to tournaments and being around other disc golfers, I've gotten to talk to a lot of people, and specifically having caddied for my dad in a few amateur events recently. I've talked with his card mates, and they ask me questions. And over the years, there's been numerous people that have asked me questions, and over time, there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's a handful of consistent questions that come up over and over. And so, um, as I'm thinking about ways to, yeah, different ways to make different things to do, I feel like answering those questions and teaching people is something that I feel passionate about. I've been lucky enough to participate in some clinics over the past couple of years, and that's been a very rewarding experience.
So I'm going to immediately dive right into. Sorry, I'm posting you to Instagram here as I'm doing this. I want to immediately dive into the different opportunities that are now available to our players, or different avenues that they might take as you're describing those. I think all the way back to 20 some years ago, Jay and Des were running around saying, hey, we need more people that can teach the teachers. And we're developing, at that time, Educational Disc Golf Experience, still going strong. Obviously, now in the last few years, we've seen the likes of Zoe Andike, Dustin Keegan, and a whole board of directors and others move forward with UPlay and what they're doing. I don't want to say similar but different, but I think that would be a fair statement. Similar but different to what Jay and Des have been doing. And then I look to someone like a Brian Earhart, who's very much in person, lots of clinics in that capacity, but will also break down a video and send it to you. And Chris Dickerson kind of doing the same. And then we have still, another dozen or 24 other players that will do an in-person clinic as well. Maybe they're breaking down video, maybe they're not. There's so many different ways that you can go about now instructing, educating, providing feedback, and being helpful. Do you gravitate to any one of those specific avenues in terms of in-person, large group, small group, one-on-one lessons, clinic style? Is there anything that jumps out at you?
Yeah, I would say I think the clinic style is probably the number one that jumps out. But I would also like podcasts like this, podcasts like Brian's, The Flight Diary, or even, I mean, I was on Understable Minds, the new Dynamic Discs podcast, little plug. I was on that recently, and I've been talking with EMAC about coming up with new ideas for different segments, and it does relate to what I want to teach. And so I think that's when you describe Edge and UPlay and the different lessons, I guess online lessons that are out there. I mean, I feel like those, like a lot of that is focused on the form of the game, or the form of the throw, and teaching people how to throw. And I think what I've recognized that I am better at and have a better time communicating and teaching people is more of the mental game, and more of how to play the game besides just how to throw the disc. And so, yeah, I feel like however I can get my point across and teach and give some advice, that's where I want to go.
Yeah, I find that really interesting because you can then, everything I know I was just saying, you can then essentially divide it into, split it right down the middle of those two categories, basically the physical and the mental. And as you're saying, the mental side is the one that you gravitate to, or the one that maybe you're a little bit more interested in pursuing or helping develop. So yeah,
I think so. I mean, what I've been realizing lately is, and while talking to my dad about this, is the sport is growing, and he was mentioning to me just yesterday that the sport is growing, and a good a good way to make your way is to find the part of the sport, the specific aspect of the sport that seems like it's growing the fastest or the largest, and gravitate towards that and find something, kind of latch onto that. And so I think what's growing the fastest in our sport is the player base. And so what it's seemed like to me is that there's a lot more to the game than just how to throw the disc well. And it seems like there's a lot of people who enjoy the experience of golfing, and want to practice that and get better at that and continue to do it as long as they can. It doesn't matter if they're really like, if they can throw 500 feet, as long as they feel like they're good at something. I think that's what really keeps people coming back. So I want to help people to keep coming back.
Are you looking at doing clinics surrounded by the pro tour, like jumping on tour? Say you're in Portland, trying to line up clinics for the Portland area the couple days before and after, or almost like a schedule, so to speak.
We'll see. I really haven't made any plans. I haven't contacted anybody about actually setting up any clinics in the future. So I haven't exactly like laid the groundwork for that completely yet on my end.
Sure.
But it's more so it's just an idea to follow and see if it makes sense actually contacting other people and bringing other people in and running events. But to answer your question, I think I think that I think that seems like it seems like a good idea to follow the pro tour and run clinics kind of in conjunction or in between pro tour events.
And maybe you would know this better than myself, or maybe even Terry. I feel like that's almost an undertapped opportunity for some of our pros, doing, whether it's a clinic or a one-on-one, finding a good scheduling system that people can sign up for. Obviously it requires some reliability on the pros part, which, depending on the player may not always be the best option, but getting like, hey, I know I'm going to be there Thursday. I've got time, outside of my practice schedule on Thursday or Friday morning. I can line up either a one-on-one or, a 1-on-5 type clinic, and I'm going to be there on Monday. Tour ends Sunday, and I'm going to head out on Tuesday. Being able to support those, I think that there is a severe lack of those type of I don't say opportunities. I think the opportunities there, advantages that people are taking. Because if someone came around this area, we've seen it with local pros, Simon and Eagle. It's a big turnout, and they're probably more on the outskirts or the outliers depending on the popularity. But I feel like any pro that puts themselves out there could probably make a couple extra $100 a weekend if so willing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of people out there playing. Really, I think it comes down to the communication and getting the word out about one's events and clinics. And so that's where I would need help. That's where I would want to make sure that I have things covered on my end before, and then bring other people in and say, please help me. Please help me set up 20 events throughout the whole year across the whole country, because I can't even do one, or I could barely do one.
Well, I think back to a couple years ago, maybe it was 2016 or 17, Chris Finn and Dude were present here in the U.S., and that was actually a main initiative and objective that they set out to do. I believe Greg Barsby, Matt Bell, and maybe a couple other players, and I think they had somewhat of an open invite to it. Maybe even Zoe was in on it, where he was essentially running and hosting a website doing a lot of what we're talking about, which was players could go in and say, hey, I'm available during these times, or I'd like to have a clinic, on Wednesday right before the tournament from 5 to 8 or from 5 to 7, and then people could go and sign for it. And it was to be kind of a centralized, all pros, clinic kind of, I'll say calendar. And people could block time and sign up and do all those types of things. Unfortunately, I think that has fallen by the wayside, but I feel like you just basically regurgitated that very idea, Johnny. And it sounds like, as you're saying, AJ, something like that could be quite useful.
I think so. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And yeah, it sounds like it would be rather useful.
Yeah, and I think more now. I mean, it might have been just a little ahead of its time, 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, it existed and there was a want and a desire for it, but today we're just in a very different landscape, and so many more people are present and thirsty and ready for that knowledge and accessible to take it all in person. I mean, the fact that we have fans, we have parking, we have to pay for parking, we our events are so much more official and professional now, and I think this is just part of that natural evolution to it.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I would add to that list of the things that have grown on the local level, like signing up for events, registering for events. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like around here, most tournaments fill up pretty quickly. And so I think what that shows is there's a lot of avid disc golfers out there. And so, yeah, like you said, that system that Chris Finn might have been ahead of its time, and maybe now, or 2022 is the time for something like that.
Yeah, and as Chad is saying on the board, organized pre-event pro-am days. I mean, there's engaging ways, and we have to, very much decide the objective. Is it to have the engagement with the fans and have it kind of be fun and lighthearted, or is it more of an actual instruction atmosphere and something that's a little bit more serious that way, or is it more for the fun fan engagement? And of course, there's some crossover somewhere there, but I think setting some objectives, and then that becomes tougher because, as you already know, and you can attest to it, you get to an event, maybe you're there Monday, maybe you get there Monday night, Tuesday and Wednesday, you're prepping and you're probably playing golf Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And just like that, your week is gone. It's crazy how busy you guys are.
Yeah. Except for like a few events throughout the year where we block out 2 weeks. So like Worlds or USDGC or Dynamic, DDO, GBO, DDO. It's still GBO in my heart.
I know, but they want their proper cred if we're calling it the Dynamic Disc Open, which is a perfectly legitimate branding request. But yes, GBO for life.
Yeah, I mean,
don't ever do that again.
We all know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we do.
But those kind of events where where everybody has kind of blocked out more time to travel and be in the town for the tournament, and beforehand, there you go. There's the opportunity to run more pro-am events. I mean, I know we've had a lot of like Ledgestone. I'm thinking of Ledgestone, and and the side events that have gone on there as well. Pro-Am charity doubles events and Fly Marts and dunk tanks and everything else.
Yeah, so let's take that thought, and we could say it of a number of our events, and someone asked it earlier, so let's transition that right into Disc Golf Con. And granted, that's projected as 1 week at the beginning of a year in one location. I guess, do you see, first of all, are you going, and will you be participating in any capacity? And then the second question would be, do you see that growing? Does there need to be a couple of those a year?
I think there's room for a couple per year. Sure. Why not? I mean, the first question, I don't have any plans to go yet, but I want to, because it sounds pretty intriguing. I mean, I think I haven't done a lot of research about it yet, but what it sounds like is like a world's Fly Mart, but just turned up to 11.
Yeah. Turned up
and
for
over multiple days too. No,
yeah,
that's turned down for what?
Exactly. Well, if you go back a few weeks, there's this incredible podcast that actually got down to the nitty gritty of quite a few details. I'm sure you just have to hit like replay on it for you, because I'm sure you processed it. But if you wanted to go back to SmashBoxxTV podcasts a few ago, they gave us a ton of great information, and I see it's continuing to pick up steam, and I wish I could say I'm getting paid to help promote it. I'm not. I want to see it successful, and right now it looks like it's very much trending in that direction, and obviously if it is, that may lend to seeing a couple of them in other locations throughout the year. So certainly exciting.
Yeah, exciting for sure. I mean, think of Comic-Con. If there were, there's plenty of conventions, comic book conventions, and other, and all sorts of conventions. So yeah, why not? Why not have multiple disc cons or frisbee cons, or that's awesome.
I don't know where we cross over, like the adult industry, Vegas. The different, I don't know. I'm sure there's some crossover somewhere. So
what?
I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't worry about it. So my mind's just wandering into other places.
We're thinking of other conventions.
Yeah.
I mean, AJ sometimes looks like an adult film star from the 70s, but I don't know where you're going with this, Terry.
Don't worry about it. It'll all come together eventually. So
I'm fully clothed.
Give everyone,
Sure.
It's been a little while, so give everyone a little background in history to... you've been playing obviously for quite a few years, and technically we met way back in 2007 when you and your dad ventured across country to play a bunch of courses and whatnot, but also play the amateur worlds here in Milwaukee. But in the last few years, you've gone to school, graduated, done all of that. Like, how does your previous education and all of that kind of roll into where you're at right now, and where do you see the crossover and the usefulness, if any?
From just specifically from the education?
Yeah, from school, and you're talking about all these things that I feel like very much define, in a lot of ways, your degree. So explain to everyone what you're trained in, so to speak, or you're educated in, and how you think you're going to be able to meld these together even more moving forward.
Cool. Yeah, I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in Visual and Performing Arts, with a concentration in arts and technology. And basically, I studied a lot of video production, film production, documentary production. I did some other cross-disciplinary art studies. Took a few theater classes and a couple acting classes, and studied some art history. And man, it was really cool. It's cool to look back on, and I'm grateful that I studied art and that I was able to use that time creatively. When I was going to school, I also worked on campus, and I worked in a video computer lab, and I helped people with their projects, with their video projects. Um, I helped run the equipment checkout desk. And so I was surrounded by camera equipment and editing software, and yeah, so I produced a few videos in my day, and then also with that job that I had on campus, my boss / best friend and I would go out and film videos for different departments on campus, like instructional videos and whatnot. And so I have a lot of experience behind the camera, behind the computer editing, but then also in the last couple years at the university, I acted in a couple plays, and so I was on stage, and I got a chance to just flex that muscle a little bit, and I had some great experiences with that. I acted in a 2-person play. It was like 90 minutes long, and that was an awesome process, and it's very vulnerable, and there was a lot that went into that, and yeah, I felt I nailed the performances. And then a few months later, I came back and we did a play that was a collection of short plays, and we did a 15-minute version of Hamlet, and I played Hamlet.
Wow.
and like I remember the first rehearsal, when we started running the lines, the director came in and said, like, after a minute, he was like, think about what your motivation is for this role, for this character, each one of you, for your specific character, what you think Shakespeare meant by this character's motivation, and flip it. Do exact, like, the mood of your character, do exactly the opposite. And so I was like this upbeat Hamlet who was just like joking around, and it was that was a great experience, and I nailed that too. And so I just kind of kept finding ways to get in front of the camera and in front of the audience and to play characters. And I think that now that I think about it, there's a bit of that goes into being a professional athlete, if one chooses to believe that. There's kind of this, I don't know if it's a technique or a method of utilizing an alter ego to one's own advantage. I think that, I don't know, that's kind of a random tangent, but you asked how I've used my arts degree since graduating, and there you go.
Well,
That's a little part of it.
And you played right into the idea, though. What I'm thinking is, you want to help people, and one of the ways is, whether that's a Q&A session or a podcast format or a clinics, scenario, all of those types of things. Those are all kind of in the same realm of you're in front, and questions are being asked of you, and you're maybe you're recording it and you're using it in that form of media distribution, or you're just doing it live. But they all kind of circle back to everything you just described. So to me, it does make perfect sense that you have all this history and this background and this experience and those things, and then therefore you enjoy and you thrive when placed in that position in terms of disc golf. I guess the question people would want to know is there an acting gig or job that could pull you off the tour? I mean, would you consider, and I know you'd have to go out and maybe apply for it, but would you consider pursuing any form of acting or opportunities that came along that maybe had nothing to do with disc golf and pulled you away?
Ooh. Oh man, dang. That question just gained so much depth right at the very end. Holy crap. That had nothing to do with disc golf?
Yeah, oh, I mean, I'm just, and I'll be really cheesy and say,
like a local commercial.
Yeah, I think of this cereal Life cereal that somebody called you up, and I guess there, clearly a commercial might be a one afternoon or a 1 week stint, but what if there was I mean, you're in California. I don't know. I think they have production companies all over out there. I mean, somebody called you up or you saw a casting call for something that you could absolutely nail. You go in there, you bring yourself to do the audition, you nail the audition, and next thing you know, you're off the tour for 9 months, 15 months. I don't know what the number is, but
Yeah.
Did you entertain that?
Yeah, I'm entertaining it right now.
Okay.
But
Like,
but purely hypothetical. I mean, I think, and yeah. So yeah, I would entertain that idea. So I mean, if tomorrow somehow I get contacted for something like that, yeah, wow. It would have to be a really good deal to pull me like completely away from disc golf. But I think part of that is, I mean, I think what another thing that I've been realizing throughout this whole injury process, one thing that I've learned is that I have plenty of time. So
Yeah.
if it's something like, hey, come out to Spain and act in this movie for, yeah, like you said, 15 months, even just 9 or 6, yeah, that would be cool, especially if it paid well. I mean, that's that would be something that would interest me. But then yeah, the real world would come back in, and what I was going to say a minute ago was that, yeah, I've described all these things that I've done and studied. At the same time, I've been playing disc golf that whole time, and I think about disc golf a lot, and study disc golf, and have studied a disc golf and played and practiced and trained throughout that whole time. So I think it's only right that that I balance the two energies. So the passion that I have, the artistic passion that I have, whether it is visual or performing, or a combination of the two, it has to be balanced. It has to be balanced out with disc golf. That's kind of where I'm at.
okay, there has to be a theme or a trend or or just an underlying theme there, I think is what you're saying, that has to somehow revert back to or include disc golf. So,
Yeah, I think so.
you mentioned clinics and being open to the idea of things of that nature. Do you have any other projects or plans or initiatives, be it with a sponsor in Dynamic Disc or anyone else? Is there anything else right now that's kind of in your short or long term, on your I'll say either bucket list or your to-do list? Like, have you had any conversations with an EMAC or someone at DD that says, oh yeah, hey, by June, this series, this whatever needs to be up and running? Has that conversation been taking place?
Somewhat, yeah. In that realm, we haven't. Not so much of a to-do list or with project deadlines, um, specifically, but yeah, I have talked with EMAC about going out to Emporia, for a little while, and working on various media projects, podcasts and video series, um, be it personal or for Dynamic Disc's YouTube channel. And then also we've talked about starting to run clinics and continuing the media role that I've stepped into with interviews. And so yeah, there's a chance that I'll be moving to Emporia for a good chunk of 2022.
Well, and I was going to say, we saw you earlier this year. Junior Worlds comes to mind when you were doing, like you just said, the interviews, talking to a lot of the players, getting their experience and having fun. I know this is kind of a less than rosy question, but let's be hypothetical and say you don't ever heal 100%, and your playing days as a top level professional, at some point it's just realized like, hey, it's not going to return to that again. Is media the obvious transition then, disc golf media for you? Or is that when you go out and pursue acting?
Yeah, it very well could be. But I think really it just comes down to whatever's available. And I think that also has a lot to do with where I kind of steer myself, whether it's towards disc golf media or towards acting or towards Waffle House or wherever it may be, career wise. Yeah, I think if disc golf media is available, then I'll know that I did something out of, from my soul in order to push me towards that, and I would follow that if that's the case. I mean, yeah, I got to be honest, I've had that less than rosy thought of career, my career is over and I can't throw for weeks on end, full power like that. And man, it's a heartbreaker. It really is. It's a tough chapter to turn back to and read. But man, it's possible.
Yeah, and again, we would not, we all hope that that's of course not the case. But
he's got two hands.
That's true, and I know you write with your left hand, but you throw with your right hand. So I mean, I'm not going to say you're weird, but another thing that you're, one of your many talents, playing music, is there a music career that could be potentially on the horizon as well?
Man,
what do you play?
Too.
I know you're just a man of so many talents. I don't know if we have enough show for it, and that says a lot about Smashbox. But how do you funnel those all in?
Too.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, one day I made your graphics.
Yes, we should probably bring those back out. Yeah. So is there a music career? When's the next open mic? And when and where's it going to be? We need to be there.
Instagram Live. Instagram Live is my open mic.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
At Risby Jr. Trying to do an ampersand or a at symbol. I need the graphics department. Yeah. But yeah. I play the guitar. I play keyboards a bit. I also I have a minor degree in music technology, and we took I took a few music recording classes, and both like focusing on analog and digital. So I've got some experience there as well. So yeah, I don't know though. Man, that's interesting to think about, because then it makes me realize just how much time and energy I've dedicated towards disc golf in my years since graduating.
Well, and certainly I'm not, as our buddy Ryan Pilcher says, I'm trying to push you out of disc golf or give you all these. I'm not. I just know that you're an incredibly...
No, AJ, think of all the other things you can do.
I just know you're a very talented individual. And for me, as some guy who literally can't play a single instrument, and then I hear from people that can...
Bet you can play the triangle.
I wouldn't count on it. I'd probably drop it or something, which I guess might count for a noise.
Though. This dude knows how to throw a rock.
But I just think of all those talents, and of course, I think of someone like a Simon Lizotte. We have a lot of very talented golfers, and I just think, what are some of either the crossovers, the backups, the alternative methods, the collaborations? There's so many different ways when you have all those talents. I mean, look at the Schultz, Schultz family, and they're playing musical instruments every other day, and then there's 109 of them. They're all good golfers. Like, yeah. There's just I want to see you and your full potential, AJ. That's what I'm saying. That's what your dad is thinking. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Wait, are you you
It's
saying
weird that you're
my
chatting with
dad?
his dad and he's just telling you what to type. That's really
He's like,
strange.
tell AJ that. No, but your dad is on the board as we would
Oh, good,
expect,
okay.
as the president of your fan club, understandably. But
No,
yeah,
actually, I know who the president of my fan club is.
and that
He's a different.
is
He's also a dad, but it's not my dad.
wow. Okay,
It's Todd Dodge.
okay.
Todd Dodge.
Todd Dodge. Wow, he's okay. That makes sense. I could see Todd being the president of your fan club.
Shout out, Todd Dodge. Arr, there we go. A little grizzly growl for you, Todd. There we go. See, there's my talents being applied. That's
Acting. He's acting.
Yes.
Again.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. All right, so is there? I guess getting back to you playing golf.
Yeah.
Is there an official bar or a threshold or a test that's a pass or fail as to, hey, I'm ready to play golf in 2022? You know, what does ready mean to you? Ready and capable.
Man, that's a good question. And I've thought about it a bit, but I haven't really. It's been like kind of vague and abstract. I haven't really tried to really give it a lot of give that thought or that feeling or that goal a lot of detail. But I think for me to feel ready to hit the road again, or to sign up for multiple events, or events far off in the future, yeah, the bar, I think, would be dictated by how my arm feels the day after throwing for 4 consecutive days. I think that's been the signifier. Because I mean, like you mentioned towards the beginning of the interview, most of my 2021 was on the sidelines, except for the last little chunk, the last 4 events before the USDGC. I played the Delaware Disc Golf Challenge and the MVP Open, Green Mountain Championship, and Music City Open. And I felt ready for those events, and I felt ready for each subsequent event after the previous one. So yeah, I think that bar is when I feel like I've been playing consistently with my right hand rather than my left hand, and I feel good about it physically, because I know I've been there. But it requires there's a lot that goes into it.
Let's get really basic and say, explain exactly what's wrong or what's been hindering you.
Right. It's I want to say it's some nerve damage, right in my wrist, kind of at where the base of the pinky meets the base of the forearm. Yeah, there's some nerve damage in there, and so really right now it kind of just comes across as like general discomfort, but localized to that area, and that's what it's been in the past. And really it's an overuse, injury, repetitive use, and yeah.
Yeah, and you've seen a number of people, and you've also, of course, talked to Seth Muncie at Disc Golf Strong probably countless times, along with other professionals that he's either collaborated with or recommended, or you've gone back and forth with. I mean, you've taken this all the way up the ladder, so to speak, right?
I mean, not exactly. I don't feel like I'm not in the best financial position with the best health insurance to see all the best doctors. But I've done plenty of physical therapy, and I've had an X-ray and an MRI exam done on that area, and it's shown no structural damage, no bones that are broken or fractured, or tendons that are or ligaments that are torn or anything. Really, the most specific thing that we found was a ganglion cyst that was also in my right wrist, and that's that's the theory of the diagnosis at this point. I mean, that's the overall injury is not just, it's not really a matter of a torn muscle or broken bone or anything. It's pretty uncertain, but I think what is certain is that it's has to do with nerve damage and tendon strain. So it's really the cure is time and rest.
Okay.
And so that's been a lot of what I've come to accept. And so I think then that kind of has influenced my answer to that question of like, when will you be ready, and how do you know when you're ready? Well, I mean, I'm done setting a deadline for like, here's when I have to be ready. I'm more so just feeling it out. And I think then that kind of has influenced my desire to do other things, to come up with clinic ideas, or come up with ideas for video series or podcast contributions, whatever, other things besides competing and killing myself playing disc golf, over and over and over. It's I gotta start thinking of other things to do.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
When you talk about, maybe the test is playing a number of rounds, 3-4 rounds, and then being pain-free after that, do you see that as, at some point when you think you're ready, is that going out and playing for multiple days, or is that even a more serious step of, hey, I want to, be signed up for a local B tier or C tier, I want to compete, for 3 or 4 days, or 2 or 3 or 4 rounds? Does it matter if it's going to be competitive or not, or do you feel like just going out and throwing at a local course will give you all the results that you're looking for, or do you want it to be in a competitive setting?
I mean, I think we know that we all know there's a difference between a PDGA sanctioned event and just about anything else. So, I mean, I'm thinking about right now I'm thinking about an event on December 11th and playing left-handed, and thinking about how I want to play for that. But then I don't know. I don't know why I brought that up. But that's like that's not a PDGA sanctioned event. And so, but I think if it was a B tier or a C tier, yeah, that would be taking things a step further. And so yeah, I would have to be in a position where I feel like I wake up every day and I've forgotten about the pain. And then also in a position where my pre-round warm-up routines are extensive enough to where I feel like, okay, I'm ready. My muscles are fully engaged. They're ready to go. I feel loose and I'm ready to throw how I want to throw. And so once I'm in that space, then I'll know when the time is right to sign up for a PDGA event and start preparing for that as well.
Okay. Well, and speaking of playing and the future, we'll say obviously into 2022, barring your potential non-sanctioned December event. But someone had asked if you're still sponsored by DD. I think you kind of indirectly answered that by saying you would potentially be spending a lot of time working in Emporia and working on stuff with them. Where do you sit personally with contract conversations. We see these multiple year deals. We see a few players shifting, some obviously coming and going from various. I think that's what shifting would be. Where are you within the DD? I don't want to just say negotiations, but where does your contract and where do you stand?
Well, I believe my contract will be up, and I'm ready and expiring at the end of this year. So
Ooh.
yeah, I'm.
Should we hold this injury talk aside? Should we unlist this video for a few more weeks till you get that cheddar first?
No. Let the world see. Let the world. Yeah.
He'll get his nut.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
They'll pay
way.
the man his money. They'll pay you even if you're not throwing. So, but I have to assume in a more serious sense, what is that conversation like? Saying to DD, hey, I may or may not be throwing again this year, and do you still want to pay me and keep me on the roster and keep this contract going? I mean, I know we're joking about it, but that's a pretty heavy conversation.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a vulnerable position in to say like, hey, I'm not going to go into battle the next time there's, a war. But the conversation, that kind of more or less went, hey, I don't know exactly when I'm going to be playing again, but I want to be doing something and I want to be contributing somehow. And I know that I've already been starring in videos and contributing that way. Is there a way that I can continue to do that and expand upon that and, work with the media team? And so far we're just in the beginnings of those talks and negotiations, but so far so good. So it's kind of cool. I mean, it's potentially I'll be more of a media personality than a professional athlete, but I'll be kind of like media personality / professional athlete if it all goes down the way
Danny and Anthony, they need someone to hold their umbrella while they're filming.
Yeah,
true.
Or I think with that beautiful.
I've done that before.
I know you have. Yeah, that's what made me think of it, because you've done that excellently too.
Yes,
this resume just keeps getting longer and longer.
Build it. Keep writing these things down.
The beautiful new headquarters that Dynamic has now completed over there in Emporia, I think of kind of that. It's not a restaurant setting, just kind of the open space area, and then I think there might be beer on tap, whatever. I see you playing music with your guitar, maybe for the entire
warehouse.
Yeah, like people just come in, and it's like it's just you and you're full time. I mean,
it's like the full time DD troubadour.
Yeah, until of course you're back to throwing frisbees. I don't know. You maybe I assume you can play a harmonica. Your harmonica.
I don't necessarily know if he wants to play guitar.
Guitar. I don't know.
Okay, can I just ask, like, how old am I in this? Like, how far in the future is this scenario?
I mean, I'm thinking in a few weeks. If again,
wow.
I just say that because
it gets cold in Emporia in the winter. Yeah,
and I don't think they put in a fireplace in there, but they should. That should be one in your rider, and you're just strumming along all day long, and everyone's like, "Hey, it's break time. Yeah, let's go to AJ's Cafe," and then that's where you are. I'm sure they could get a baby grand piano in there. I have to assume you can play the piano.
Yeah, a little bit.
He said keyboard earlier.
Yeah, a
little bit.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to raise your stock here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean that's a great idea. A few weeks though. I gotta practice up.
You got it. You got it. I would think you could potentially. I see you again setting the guitar down, taking your harmonica off of, because don't those get like mounted in a little holder, right? You set that aside, and then you bring out a book and you read little.
Yeah,
reading.
Bring the kids in. I'll read them a story.
Or he does,
or the adults in. I'll teach
yeah.
them something about Zen philosophy.
Yeah.
You do a one-man 15-minute Hamlet show?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
It's a lunch hour. You've got plenty of opportunities.
All of this wrapped into like a variety show. What do you guys think?
Ah, now we're talking.
And then is there a way to then sew it all together with disc golf being the thread? And then
I think
pitch that. The three of us, we pitch that to the Disc Golf Network, and then boom.
Yeah,
Disc Golf Network is hiring as well. There's positions out there.
Show hosts, hosts of the Disc Golf Network variety show. I'm just trying to. I'm working on like a hee-haw, but disc golf. Oh man, the chat board just exploded.
Yeah, and then this thing gets obviously with it being streamed for the most exclusive of Dynamic Disc customers or something, some kind of RSS feed or secret feed for them. I don't know. There are so many options here, and I'm liking all of them.
Me too.
I think it's fair to say you're the Wayne Brady of Dynamic Disc then at that point. I mean, just unlimited skills and talents, and then performer.
Dang, dude!
Right?
Wow, I think I'm gonna hang up.
That's quite a compliment.
On my head. Thank you. Yeah, that means a lot. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think I'm gonna run with that.
This interview's gone places, from Terry trying to kick AJ off the tour to Terry basically saying you may be the most talented man.
Full-time entertainment at DD. It's there.
There you go.
That's just interim too. I mean, and then you go out and you win worlds when it comes, whatever. But in the interim, while you're injured, these are just some of the other things that I think align with you and your skill sets.
I think so too. I mean, and I think again, to bring back the disc golf is the thread that's going through everything. I mean, I've noticed recently that, man, I gotta be out on the course and I gotta play in order to keep the juices flowing and in order to do that kind of all around entertaining thing. So again, that balance, if there's a way that I can balance the art or balance the disc golf and the art, that would be pretty bleeping ideal.
Yeah.
In my book. So maybe I don't know. Maybe it is the one-on-one lessons but I don't really teach you anything. We just hang out.
Yeah.
And then you might learn something.
I mean, there may be a little bit of a conflict of interest within DD and then your OnlyFans, and you may have to shut that down because you're kind of running a parallel circuit here. But there's some ideas. I like it. All right, so we'll overarching. This is kind of a bigger question as we start to send you off here. Is
sure.
2022 beyond the AJ, which I feel like should be the tagline already. But so beyond the AJ, what do you see for disc golf? Because you've been around for a long time, you're obviously quite knowledgeable, and not only with current, but then previous history of disc golf, and you've been there for it all at a very young age. What are you looking at in 2022 that's just disc golf in general? What are your predictions, your thoughts, that kind of stuff?
Man, well, I think first is the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and I think that the talent pool just keeps growing. It keeps growing out, and it keeps growing deeper and deeper. There's better players, and there's more better players. And we've been saying that for a few years, and it just keeps going. So man, I don't know. This might be like, we might be coming up on the need for like a secondary tour. Because I think so who knows, maybe that might be something that happens that we start to see more and more of. I think that with more media companies popping up in different corners of the country, and overseas as well. Mm-hmm. I think that is kind of what then drives the need for a secondary tour is more media, and I think that is something that's growing again. The Disc Golf Network is showing that there's a way people can make their way in disc golf media legitimately, and even more so, just like kind of from a startup standpoint, more and more people can do that. And so I think we're going to see a lot more growth from that side as well. And then, yeah, I mean, the competition at the highest level will, I don't have any like big predictions for the season. I just know that it's going to be even better than it was the last 2 years. And the last 2 years were really amazing. Even when we would see the lead card be the same for maybe fifth player, I guess I have a fifth finger. It would be Paul and Ricky and Eagle and Calvin, and then you toss in Dickerson, Kevin Jones, Conrad, a few others. Now Adam Hammis is
Kyle
in there.
Klein.
Drew Gibson, Kyle Klein is in there, and man, that is such an amazing show to watch. And so I think that's a pretty good product to put out there for people. Not to mention, you have those 10 people in that one hand, but on the other hand, you've just got like the whole FPO side is growing and expanding as well. And that's just as exciting and impressive too. So, man, I think that disc golf is really being portrayed accurately and adequately. And so, yeah, man, it's I just see things growing, and I see more and more people enjoying the sport, and more people sharing that enjoyment. I don't know. These are like big thoughts for what the sport has to offer in 2022, but I think that's just where we are. Is things are looking good. I don't.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking for too. I know we're continuing to push forward, and we've always been so. I don't want to say content. We've always been happy with like a steady 12 to 15% annual growth, and I've been happy with that. I think that's been very sustainable, very practical, and it's been steady more than anything for the last 20 some years. But then in the last year and a half, 2 years, to see us just absolutely
growth, that's good.
Yeah, explode the way that it has is clearly that's not fully sustainable to keep quite on that trajectory, but it's been absolutely incredible to see nonetheless. And yeah, so everything you're talking about, I think, is in line with what we're seeing. One of the specific follow-ups I'll ask to that is, you're someone that has very much embraced, I know, NBA and professional sports. Do you personally, feel any warm and fuzzies or validation by seeing a tie now to ESPN now on multiple occasions? Does that hit you the way it does some others? And or was that more impressive if it would have been 10 years ago? And will it mean the same in 10 years? But is there any validation for you, or has that mattered?
Yeah, that's totally mattered. That's been huge. Although honestly, I don't have cable down here, and I didn't watch the this year's ESPN coverage.
Jerk.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. But I mean, I think it's almost because it's become a little bit closer to normal. I mean, like you said, 10 years ago, yeah, I'd be crapping my pants for like a month straight. And so, I mean, I think that just kind of, but now I'm like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of disc golf coverage out there. And I think I'm kind of, yeah, I'm also trying to say that I think we're in a spot where we're not really going anywhere either. So I think,
You mean that
I don't
in a
feel
good
too bad
way,
about
like we're
missing
not
one.
losing our foothold.
Correct.
Is what you mean?
We're not
yeah.
leaving the spotlight.
Yeah.
Not that we're not moving towards a goal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, so I'm hopeful that we'll see more of this partnership or collaboration. But yeah, I mean, it totally means something to me, and it's yeah, it's really cool to see that the sport has gotten to that level. And I think that I would be feeling much more like an 8-year-old on Christmas morning, if we had just even more consistency
Sure.
with you know, the tournament coverage that we'd see on ESPN. And then of course it's, you know, I think the ultimate sign is when disc golf is live on ESPN or ABC and I mean just a cable network.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think we're in a funny position where I don't know of many sports like ours that are recorded and played later on ESPN, like that far out. I've seen a couple different smaller like world championships. I think like a putt-putt world championship I saw where it was recorded, you know, a month or two earlier, condensed down and done, but not a series, not like a tour, so to speak, where you have that many. Because let's just pretend we have 10 slots on a network.
Sure.
I don't see a play for 10 events cut down after, like, well after the fact. They would have to be, I think, within a week or two of whatever event you're doing in order to that consistent turnaround. But we all know that live, a high quality television production version of a live broadcast is out of our reach at this point due to the costs. I mean, you're talking multi-million dollars to make sure that we don't run into issues that we saw on like hole 17 at the tour finale, where you just run into a dead spot. Like, that is not an acceptable solution on broadcast television. So, you know, we're kind of in this mushy middle right now, and if we can get past that, where you're right, where we can do either a good weekly summary or good wrap up within a relatively close amount of time, I think that would be a really awesome big step. But until we can get to that point where we do that on a regular basis, whether it's every other week or maybe once a month for 6 months, I don't know the right frequency. It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough, but I think I think it's within reach or within reason. You know, I mean,
yeah, and I think it'll be
millions of dollars. That's possible. That's attainable.
Yeah. Well,
maybe not for me or for you or me. I'm not footing that bill.
Oh, hold on, I got that. Let me grab my wallet.
I don't know. Well, you just accept tips in AJ's Cafe, and we'll see where things could go from there.
Yeah, we'll be on ESPN in no time. I'll be driving the satellite truck with my face on the side of it to every Pro Tour event.
Have you seen me? It's just your big face. Yeah. Yeah, and in truth be told, there is so much more. You know, I know some people have wanted to be naysayers about whether or not that's significant. Well, clearly, it is in the sense that we have the likes of LL Bean and Johnsonville and,
Guarantee rate.
Yeah, guaranteed rate. And these other corporate entities, of course, Grip 6 being a huge presenting sponsor of the championship the year before. These presenting sponsors that are getting their branding and their recognition out there in terms of being on ESPN or ESPN2, they're clearly finding some value in that, and I think that's going to continue. I think that snowball has started, and now it's just a matter of, can we just keep pushing it down the hill, and will it continue to pick up a little bit more momentum and a little bit more girth to it? And it certainly some exciting things. And then, of course, there's always going to be the naysayers that just don't want to see it get bigger because they don't want more people on their courses, and that's one perspective as well. But
that's a completely different topic. Almost. I think it's interesting to think if the sponsorship, like the incoming sponsorship dollars are growing, then what else? Again, balance. What else needs to grow in order for us to continue moving that snowball forward? But then, as in terms of the grassroots and the tradition of golf or disc golf and courses and how they're becoming overpopulated. That's a tough one too.
It is, and it would be so awesome to sit down with some of the pioneers of any sport or niche activity that has blossomed and blown up, and to get their perspective. I'll think of like RC racing and race cars, and did they hit a point of like it was big but too big? And then did they scale back, or did they fall back because popularity just naturally fell backwards on them? And obviously, we've seen skateboarding and snowboarding. That's only going to continue to rise. But just some of the other smaller things, and having a conversation with the people that run the cornhole or the bags tournaments, and just all of the things that have come up and risen to some form of mainstream popularity, but then maybe they fizzled. And how many of them would say, hey, we're kind of okay with that. I can now go back to my local RC track, and there's not 1 billion people at it every Sunday afternoon. It's just back to the core 40 people that used to race, or whatever the case is. I'm just making things up, but I would right love to get that perspective of some other sports and activities that had this rise, like we're continuing to be in, and how did they grow and adapt from there?
Yeah. That would be super interesting. I think what you would find, what anyone would find, is that is just like the different ways in which the sport or the hobby branched out. And so in those little branches, you have things like media, and you have things like instruction, and you have things like competition, or things like
merchandising.
RC-Con. Yes, right. Yeah, you have T-shirts with different kinds of RC cars on them, and that goes off in so many different directions. So I think that's probably what you would find is just nature in any event like that. And then if things got too big and fizzled, maybe any example really, like yo-yoing, I guess, is another.
Yeah, and it's funny. I know a world class, arguably one of the best yo-yo masters in the world. He's out of Minnesota. I see him at some Fayed shows every year. Dazzling Dave, check him out.
Okay.
That's why I feel like when I sit down after a day of promoting disc golf, and he's promoting his yo-yo instructions and the things that he offers, I have so many questions because I see so much of disc golf in what's happened, and when yo-yo hit its height, nearly 2 decades ago, and then where is it at now, and what is it like, and just all of the things that they're going through. Of course, we can just draw so many similarities and maybe learn from their pitfalls, or just realize there's just this flow that's going to happen.
Look at poker.
Poker as well, on a much larger scale,
yeah.
But yeah, of course.
Yeah, ultimately it was a very large home game experience that then took off in the public eye with ESPN and every station had a late night poker game on.
Yeah.
And now you don't see that anymore. Like it's virtually off of your television other than the World Series of
Right.
Poker. And I think there is like a poker channel that plays older or even newer ones. And occasionally I think maybe it's on ESPN as well, but not nearly to the frequency that it was. But
think about bowling in the 80s.
Yeah,
Same
exactly.
idea.
But the sports are bigger than they probably were when they started. And it's just a matter of, does it matter?
Yeah.
Right.
And who's in it for the long haul? The people that came in, made their nut. Am I using that right? And then got back out. got their nut. And then got back out. And the people that came in with big goals and ambitions lost their nut and then slithered away or fell off the pace. So yeah, there's so many so many crazy
nuts.
stories.
Oh,
yes,
man.
it's just
there's
nuts.
a lot of nuts in disc golf. Let me tell you that.
And
That's
while
a
we're
lot
at
of
it,
nuts.
before I forget, congratulations. Speaking of World Series of Poker, Pete Johnson making what I think they call a deep run. Pete Johnson's been at the World Series of Poker. I think he's cashed in 4 out of the last 5 events or something like that. He's been participating in. He makes posts on Facebook all the time, literally sometimes hand by hand almost. And he's played in a number of the various tables, name dropping some of the best poker players that he's playing up against or has taken out in the last week or two. So just a big shout out to Pete Johnson. He's such a gracious and kind human and awesome. It's so fun to hear the stories or to read about them as you're following along on Facebook with whatever he's posting about. So I wanted to throw that in there. So
well, there's there was a dude on the final, maybe it was the final 2 or 3 tables that had a disc golf shirt that he was wearing this year. It was somebody that nobody, I think, unless he's probably a local, but he was wearing a disc golf shirt.
An AJ Risley shirt.
No, it wasn't. But
I don't.
I
Think
went to AJ's Cafe and all I got was this shirt. that's what he was wearing. No. Okay, I'm just saying. There's an idea.
It had a basket in the corner. Oh my god.
Anyway, all right, AJ. We love you, buddy.
Poker.
We're so
Hey, I
glad
love
you
you
could
guys, too.
give us some updates, and forever grateful to the early days when you had helped out SmashBoxx TV and you helped out the Disc Golf Guide channel, and just everything that you were willing to do to assist in our crazy early beginnings of both of those channels. So we always are indebted to you, and we appreciate that. And thanks for catching up with us tonight. Give us some final sponsor shout outs or anything else you need to throw around out there. We'd love to hear it.
Oh man. Okay. Man. First, yeah. Thank you, Terry and Johnny, for all the opportunities over the years. It has been a lot of fun to work with you guys, and I think that's because we share the same passions and we share the same level of passion too, but it shows in different ways, of course. But yeah, I'm super appreciative and grateful, thankful for our friendship over the years. And yeah, my dynamic discs has been amazing to me, and I feel like our partnership has been great. I think we've really inspired a lot of people and helped people enjoy the game of disc golf. And I think then what that does is it helps us grow the sport of disc golf. And so dynamic discs, thank you. I'm glad to be working with you guys. It's a lot of fun, and I've got hybrid moonshine wardens dropping on the dynamic disc site December 2nd. So a couple weeks from now. I've got a few testers of that disc and somewhere, I think in my car. But man, yeah, they're awesome. Great throwing putters. So December 2nd, plug hybrid moonshine warden.
Okay. That was going to be my next question. If they want to follow you on any of the socials, or on the live AJ Cafe stream. Where can they find you? And then, yes, as you said, how can they support you? You're saying going out to Dynamic Discs on December 2nd will be the way to do it. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, find me on dynamicdiscs.com on December 2nd. You can find me on Dynamic Discs YouTube channel as well. I also have my own YouTube channel. It's slightly dormant, but I do have content up there it's content. You might enjoy it. If you made it this far in my interview, then yeah, go search AJ Risley on YouTube. I've got content there, and then also on Instagram at AJ's Cafe. I mean at Risby Jr. That's me, and yeah, I've got content up there too. It's I do play disc golf and document that, and with pictures and videos. And I also have a lot of other content on Instagram as well. It's a great outlet to make use of as kind of like a journal and a photo diary and whatever the heck you want. You could also sell stuff on there too, I think.
You can, and if people really want some action, as I punched your name into the YouTubes, one of my favorite videos that comes up, 2017 Des Moines Challenge, featuring AJ Risley, Calvin Heimberg, Ben Calloway, Alex Geisinger, and James Conrad.
2021 world champion James Conrad? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I got to play with all of those guys.
They got to play with you on the lead card. All featured on the Disc Golf Guy channel.
In the lead. I know I had the lead.
Spoilers.
That, right?
Don't tell them how it finished. But yeah. So, I mean, that's another option. That's all on the Disc Golf Guy channel. AJ playing with truly the best in the world right there.
That was a fun card.
It certainly was. Heck yeah.
That was a cool day. Sorry, no spoilers.
Yeah, I'm
good job, Terry.
I like listening to you win that one. All right, AJ, again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thanks for the catch up. We, of course, wish you the best in your continued recovery. The very lengthy process that it is, but slow and steady seems to be might be the only option right now. But it is it's the one that hopefully will work out the best for you, and hopefully we'll see you throwing some more Frisbees, and then that translates into seeing you on TV and music and videos and cafes and things all around the world. And we appreciate you joining us tonight, buddy.
You can find AJ at your local coffee shop following the Pro Tour.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, just follow the Pro Tour and start sniffing for coffee and
or just playing at all the Waffle Houses. Holy cow. Man. There it is. There's the tie.
That's the gig that's the never-ending gig. Yeah,
yes.
I'm set for life.
We'll play for waffles. Oh my gosh. All right, AJ, we love you. Thanks for joining us tonight, and we're looking forward to seeing you sometime soon in the 2022 season. See you then, buddy.
Good night, AJ.
Yeah.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. AJ Risley with the updates. And, man, that's got to be so frustrating, clearly, but just a little bit unsettling to know, like, hey, when am I going to feel better? I mean, that's really what he's waiting on, and there's no magic timeline for the injury in which he has.
Whenever your body feels better. I mean, as he knows, he can't put a timeline on it.
I think
you can try, but...
I think it was the famous John Mayer that said to him, his body is a wonderland. And he might have been talking about AJ.
I don't believe so, but...
I don't know. Or Jessica Simpson. One of the two.
I don't believe that was that either, but...
Okay, it was a little early for that.
Yeah, a little early for that.
Anyway. That's enough throwback on that for the night.
Earlier I mentioned the gentleman with the disc golf T-shirt, the World Series of Poker. Chase Bianchi is this gentleman. He was wearing Best Dad by Par shirt. Apparently he's out of Maryland area. Ended up, spoilers, taking 7th.
Oh, man.
For a cool mill.
Man, what course is he putting in? That's the question.
No, but apparently he's a very... a lot of people say he's a very nice guy. He's donating a bunch of it to charity, and he's looking for like a full-time software development gig or something now. But yeah, he is a He's a casual disc golfer, I guess.
Well, I will read just a few details because I've seen a lot of posts from him. Again, I know I was just talking about Pete Johnson. A couple days ago, he said World Series of Poker is over, but I'm joining Don Smith, who also loves competing, at a tournament at the Orleans. He talks a little bit more about where all these other things, and I don't think I fully understand all of the details because he says at another event he was out 4 times cashing in a row. He had his pair of 9s cracked by A6, but he had finished in, I'm sorry, I'm reading his ticket sideways, 156th place, and that was cashing.
That looks like it's what, event 8?
World Series of Poker, EV
83B.
number 8, 83B.
Yeah,
so there was a series of these that he had been playing in, and I know we've got a couple other poker players within the scope of disc golf, but I'm also looking at another one in EV number 514. He had cash there. So anyway, pretty cool. Along with hitting the lottery, we're going to send another shout out to an old school original Smashy, Dynamite Danovici, him and his wife Ashley, I believe celebrating maybe their 8th year of wedded bliss. And I believe it's specifically even maybe today. If it's not today, it was very recent, but I think it's today.
I think it's today as well.
Congratulations, Dana. We love you. And Ashley, we love you too. So thank you for sharing your Dynamite with us here on the show from time to time.
For sure. A little bit of PDGA news. Let's talk about PDGA news. I'm going to come up with a bumper for that.
It's great.
Right
you
there,
nailed
just
it.
like that.
Yep.
Bunch of discs.
Wow, we got to hire AJ for that.
That's AJ. A bunch of discs were approved again. The Zero from Innova, the Berry, the Mango, and the Mint from Clash Discs, going with tastes or flavors.
Sound delicious.
The Bohrim from Loft Discs, the D2 Pro from Prodigy, and the Glory from Royal Prototype, which is the Royal Prototype, from Latitude 64. So the Royal is their new, I don't know, is it a new line of plastic or is it an entirely new methodology to make the disc? I don't exactly know.
It's a line, and they've come out.
I know there's a few different.
I was going to say that has to be the 6th, 7th installment along those within that line that we've seen. So, okay. Well, very cool. So some new approved discs, all thanks to our PDGA technical standards department and testing and all that other stuff that they do.
The other PDGA news, there's just a little bit of stuff. Jeff Jacqua has become the PDGA Director of Competition. So he will be kind of heading up the majors and working with the Disc Golf Pro Tour and just a lot of other responsibilities, planning and the execution of majors, establishing competitive standards, requirements, managing bid processes, trying to acquire sponsors, performing site inspections, things of that nature. Jeff Jacqua, who is well known for his event out in Vegas.
Yes, Las Vegas
Challenge.
And a number of other events that have been Jeff Jacqua events out there.
That's the one he's known for, though. I said Terry.
I know, but I'm just saying, don't put him in the box, Johnny. He runs a number of events.
He does. Which is probably how he got the PDGA Director of Competition, not just running
most certainly. So I may or may, I don't know if that was last week or this week. Either way, again, congratulations to Jeff.
It was this week.
Also,
the end of last week, beginning of this
kind
week.
of along those lines, in terms of prepping, we saw that a few people, I believe Sean Sinclair and Rebecca Duffy, were in the Wisconsin area, the Madison, specifically Madison area, to do a little site preview and have a conversation with Mike Batka, who will be hosting the U.S. Women's over in Madison. Maybe I talked about that last week. That's about, and from where we are right now, about an hour west of us, a little more than an hour or so, 45 minutes from my house. But yeah, so cool that they're out there doing that kind of prep work. And this is all kind of the big picture, if we really want to say it, is people will sometimes be critical and say, hey, why wasn't this looked into, or why wasn't this taken care of, or how did this slip past us? Well, these are some of the steps that they're
These
now
are the
trying
people
to.
you can blame now.
Now they're just being proactive in now going out and looking at and securing and dotting the I's and crossing the T's and doing additional steps to some of this is just pre-work or pre-planning and making sure that the LOC, as they call them, the local organizing committee, is all on board and is heading in the right direction. So you love to see it. We hope that will significantly reduce, if not eliminate as much as possible, any of the small or large oversights that could otherwise take place. We hope that this will, kind of tighten that up. So excited to hear it. And then you mentioned it, we'll briefly touch on it. I think it was listed as 5 different jobs available, all sorts of them on Disc Golf Pro Tour or within the Disc Golf Pro Tour. You can go out there if you go out to the discgolfdgpt.com or discgolfprotour.com.
There are a lot of jobs in disc golf right now.
It's crazy.
Honestly, I think if Discraft just said they were hiring somebody to do warehouse, I know some warehouse management, but some sort of warehouse stuff. UDisc is looking for developers and other people, DGPT or DGN, depending on how you want to look at it. They're hiring for different media aspects, whether it's here in Milwaukee doing some associate producing or on the road doing some social media and such. There's just a lot of things. If you're looking for a job in disc golf, if you want a job in disc golf, it's as easy now as it has ever been or may ever be.
Yeah. More accessible, more practical, and quite frankly, crazy. And stop me if I've told this 300 other times, but
okay, I will. I'm going to cut your mic.
When I was interning in college, at the ripe age or so of 19 or 20, I remember interning at a local data processing facility that is the back end for a lot of banks and such worldwide. And one of my friends, who's still my friend to this day, crazy cat lady, Sandy, I just remember she was an administrative assistant, and I had been there for a little while in terms of the systems and IT side of things, and she was the administrative assistant of the department. And I remember so clearly her saying, you should do like that disc golf thing like you're totally into. You should do that for a job. And this is just before I had graduated college with a couple of degrees. And I just remember saying that, and I laughed at her. And I said, unless I want to go to a warehouse, one of two, being in or a Discraft really, unless I want to go to a warehouse and pack boxes with all these discs, those are about the only jobs that are in disc golf. And now you fast forward roughly 22 years, and it feels like, as you're saying, every day there's multiples of jobs that aren't just as much as just packing boxes at a warehouse. Now, those are available too, especially with the demand that's out there. But just about every disc golf company in some capacity is hiring or would hire if you possess a special skill set. And a lot of them are at a point, they're fluid enough that maybe they don't even know they need you yet, but if you're damn good at something, you could maybe even convince them to hire you. It's just, It's just a totally different world. And I know you can say, well, it's the evolution of disc golf in 22 years. It's one that I didn't really envision.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. And think, even take that one step past that. There's we'll say events and event management people. I think of Ledgestone, who I may or may not have visited recently, and what they're growing into and doing the warehousing and fulfillment and distribution of various team members. Ben Calloway, Chandler Fry just recently picked up and on the team. But the amount of product and merchandising and then hosting 1,500, 1,800 person tournaments, then taking on another one like the Great Lakes Open, they have multiple full-time staff members there, and that all stems from Nate Heinold originally running a tournament that started 10 years ago. It's absolutely insane. Same to be said of Jeff Jacquot and the full-time business of what he's been doing to promote golf and run tournaments. I don't know. It's exciting. Or you could just play guitar at AJ's place. That's always an option too.
AJ's Cafe. A little Smashbox news. and notes, we are starting to talk about getting the fundraiser, not the fundraiser disc, the Patreon disc set up for 2021. And I just talked with Miles about the clothing, and we're gonna get some sweatshirts for this winter time. So if you're at the $10 clothing support level on patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV, you will be hopefully getting some sort of sweatshirt in the next few weeks, as I am working out the final details with Miles right now. So be on the lookout, folks. Be on the lookout.
I like it. And last thing here in the regular show I'll say is that super excited. There's a number of you that are maybe even listening this very moment that will be involved with and or competing probably at the Cold Turkey this weekend. Looking forward. Looks like we're going to have some pretty mild weather. This PDGA C tier that I'm putting on will have, looks to be 72 people on Saturday, 72 people on Sunday, and very mild weather and temperature here in southeastern Wisconsin. So looking forward to it. Crazy also to think that this is the 16th Cold Turkey. And I've been running tournaments since the late 90s, but this one specifically, I remember thinking, oh, yeah, like there's not really much going on after Thanksgiving. I should run a tournament then. And 16 years later.
Well, originally, I remember you telling me you wanted to run it on that Friday after Thanksgiving.
Yep. Which is still, I think, a viable option, and there's plenty of those going on around the country, sanctioned and unsanctioned. And this one, now that I've got 72 on Saturday and 72 on Sunday, we're also even still offering, and it's available. Good setup there, Johnny. Is there's a flex start that I'm also offering up, and we have another 9-hole course that's in the same property as the 18-hole course. So you get to play competitively the 9-hole course twice, and that will count as a 1-round C-tier flex start. And we've got about 25 or 30 people signed up for that as well. Last year we had 50. So that's also an option if you have bigger obligations this weekend and you're like, hey, I could just show up, I could get 1 round in. It's a relatively short 9-hole course. You play through it twice, and that's in and out. So looking forward to it. Thanks to all the incredible people that are going to be part of it. And I know, like I said, a lot of the listeners out there are either playing and or supporting in some capacity. I'm looking at you, Ryan Pilcher, as one example. Super duper guy. All right, guys, we're going to close out the regular show. We'll have some randomness in the after show as always. But we got to thank AJ Risley for joining us, giving us some insight as to this past year, and then also what we can look forward to seeing out of that young superstar in the 2022 campaign. And let's keep our fingers crossed that his hand and his wrist feels better. If this is the last you hear of us before Thanksgiving, have a happy Thanksgiving. For Johnny V and myself, that's been Podcast 378. We'll see you for the after show silliness in just a few moments. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 378's
After Show.
Here we are. It is just a few days before Thanksgiving, so of course, happy Thanksgiving to all. And I know I posted about this earlier, a couple days ago, and as if Wisconsin hasn't suffered enough random terrible tragedies and other things. There were a number of disc golfers.
Just when you think the spotlight is off of Wisconsin with the whole Kenosha deal.
Yeah.
Well, like literally 2 days later.
Yeah, unfortunately, and in all seriousness, all thoughts and condolences and best well wishes to everybody. There were a number of disc golfers that I personally know that were at the parade that took place in Waukesha, not Waukesha, as understandably some news anchors around the world are saying. But Waukesha, Wisconsin is that main street where that parade is not a full 10 minutes. I think it's 6.1 miles from my house. And me nor any of my family members were there, but we certainly know disc golfers and other families and my children had friends that were there, and just absolutely gut-wrenching and terrible. And of course, it's like everything else when you see these tragic things take place in communities, and then when it hits literally that close to home, it's crazy. From where Johnny lives here, he's on the north side of Milwaukee, northern suburbs.
25 minutes maybe.
Yeah, 25, 30 minutes. That's like I said, Waukesha is a community that's much closer to me, and just absolutely terrible. And there's not much, obviously, more that I can say about it. Unfortunately, we heard just today, I believe on my way here is when I had learned that there was actually a sixth fatality, and it was the youngest of them all with an 8-year-old. And it just, of course, just absolutely disgusting. And so here's maybe one of the few things I'll say about it. I read that the gentleman's bail was set to $5 million. And I'm far from a legal scholar, but why the F is there any bail? Can you not? Is it? And this is a fair question. Does there have to be a bail? And why isn't it set at $100 million? Like,
I think there is. There are laws that require like a reasonable bail, depending on the
why?
Because otherwise it's called corruption, and I understand like you. In instances like this, but you also have to follow the laws of the land, and there has to be what is known as "quote unquote" a reasonable bail, because this way you cannot put somebody in jail for jaywalking and give them $1 million bail. Like that's how the system works, and I understand the frustration with that, and because you think, God, just lock them up and throw away the key, but everyone is owed their due rights, regardless of how how guilty they obviously are.
Yeah, so I could have Googled this, I guess, before even bringing it up, and really I didn't know that's where I was going to go with it, but that's something that was announced today, I believe, and that's what struck out at me, is just the fact that this gentleman was literally just released on bail a few days ago, and then continued with all of his criminal ways. And just the fact that there's even the slightest chance that $5 million is posted for him to be out after now, killing 6 individuals with more than 40 injured. It's just absolutely disgusting. Sam says, can't be no bail. That would be a conviction without trial. Again, I don't.
We're not legal scholars
exactly,
here,
and I'll say I know there's some hyperbole here, but seriously, like it just. Mm-hmm. It's just disgusting to think that it's conceivable somehow that money could be raised and he could literally be out again. It's just, it breaks my heart. So at any rate, unfortunately, in the worst of ways, bringing Wisconsin into the spotlight yet again, and in this way, one of the most tragic and disgusting ways possible. But that is very much a disc golf community, and part of the heart of Wisconsin. Coincidentally, we don't have disc golf in that. I've kind of said this, that in talking to some of their city officials throughout the years, we have disc golf courses located within Waukesha County, which is where I live, and there's a number of them. There's Waukesha as a city is the largest city in Wisconsin that does not have a disc golf course, which says a lot because we have nearly 400 courses here. I mean, that's sprawl throughout this entire state. And so whenever I see them at a park and rec show, or I, have presented in front of various Waukesha officials throughout the years, I always say to them, you're the largest community in the state that doesn't have disc golf. Appleton, where Johnny and I grew up, Green Bay, Milwaukee, and Madison, those are all really the other four largest communities within, or cities within Wisconsin, all have disc golf, and then very much around it. But Waukesha is one that doesn't, and hopefully that changes. Their city parks, city-owned property within Waukesha, though, is pretty limited. I've looked at almost every one of them, so that's one of the reasons. But anyway, tragic and terrible, but hopefully we can all cope with it and start moving on.
Let's go a week or two without Wisconsin in the national news.
Yeah,
for something bad.
Yeah, certainly. A little bit more. We'll switch gears now. Of course, a little more team talk. We talked in the regular show, Barsby with a signing. Not a lot of other public chatter taking place. We did see last week. What day? I guess it was since the last show, right? That it was announced with Westside and Matty O.
Yeah,
I don't think that was before our last Tuesday show. I'm starting to get confused, but yeah, basically, of course, the chatter that was out there was that Prodigy made an announcement last week that said, Matty O, thank you for being on the team. We wish you the best. Roll Tide, all that other stuff. Good luck over there at Westside. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But basically, for lack of better terms, spoiled Matty O's transition, and that has been very much debated.
The post was removed, but here's what I will say: if it was intentional, it's a very pathetic and petty move.
Okay.
If it was an accident, and it's hard to imagine it being an accident, but let's just say that it was an unintentional spoiling. Then you chalk it up as mistakes were made. I mean, again, they pulled the post recently, so it's not out there anymore. But I think regardless of the intent, whether it was spiteful or whether it was just accidental, an apology is due. And I don't necessarily know if it has to be a public apology. Say, hey, sorry about that from, Prodigy Discs Instagram account. We're sorry. We understand that, that we shouldn't have done this. And, we'll talk to our intern who takes care of this, or whatever lies that, whatever PR stuff you need to throw out there. And then you should probably privately contact Jeremy Rusko and apologize. Because there is, when a player moves, if it's a big name player, and Matty O's a big name player now, he's like the fifth highest rated player in our sport right now.
Yeah, like 1046.
Yeah, had a great 2021 season.
Mm-hmm.
You make all these plans as a company, whether it's media, photos, videos, disc releases, maybe. Maybe they had planned in this awesome Matty O disc rollout, and you build the hype. Prodigy did the same thing with Kevin Jones. Remember that it was a really awesome Kevin Jones release video that they had done, and you build that up, and to have someone kind of take a portion of that from you, there will never be that build up again. You will never have that. It's impossible to recreate that. They are going to still push a bunch of Matty O stuff, and that's great. He deserves it. But you can't get back that moment, and it sucks.
Yeah, it was quite shocking and surprising, and clearly, like we just said, we don't know how it came about and whose decision it was, and whether there was any ill intent behind. I mean, when you read it at face value, it says good luck. It says roll tide, good luck. It's of course it's positive and upbeat, and it's a well crafted message. Just as many would say, the last line essentially is what wasn't necessary, is to spoil where he was going. I didn't know if there was any way that people were talking about it as it being a good thing, unless it was just that a mistake of sorts.
That's all I can think, is that it was a mistake. Maybe, again, I could almost understand that. Say there was a private email to Matty O. Hey, thanks for your years at Prodigy. Good luck at Westside, blah, blah, blah. Whoever the social media person is copies and pastes the message like, oh, this is really good. We could make a post out of this.
Sure.
And thank him. You copy, you paste it, you throw it on your social media, and you release it. That's a scenario. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm not saying that's not what not happened.
Sure.
That is how I could see it happening. But man, it sucks. It really does suck, and I hope everybody kind of has taken a good look at the reasoning and what has happened.
Yeah, and what maybe the last point I'd say to that is, it was made clear that prepping and promotion was in fact already lined up. They were talking about having Matty O come to Emporia,
I think next week.
to do some promotional stuff. And not to say they can't do it, but it doesn't have quite the fireworks or quite the big bang, so to speak, that it would if it was in fact kept a secret until this point. And so that's certainly, as you're saying, that's exactly what was kind of taken away from the new manufacturer or the new sponsor being Westside. So, yeah.
I heard Patrick Mahomes was going to welcome him. I heard,
yep.
The whole Kansas, Paul Rudd, who's from Kansas, was going to congratulate Matty O, and it was going to be a whole kit and caboodle. Now none of that has happened.
How many enemies could we make if every single trade or signing that we know about, we just blurt out every Tuesday night? Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be the end.
I mean, there's a lot of manufacturers that would then
stop sharing information with us.
Well, not only that, would just want to choke us out in an alley, but
well, sure, and stop having their players come on our show.
Yes.
Oh
my gosh,
it would be a very lonely show, very quickly, Terry Miller. But I mean, we could.
It really could be funny though. Be like, guess what we heard this week, and then just spill it all and have it be actually right and accurate. Oh my gosh.
I heard AJ Risley got signed to Waffle House.
Oh my gosh, that would be funny. So anyway, what I'd love to know, and maybe we'll get Matty O at some point, or a team representative could talk about it. Seeing Matty go specifically to Westside. Now, clearly, we all know that there's this trilogy conversation, which, by the way, a lot of them hate internally, is my understanding. They're three different companies, Westside, Latitude, and Dynamic.
Yeah, but are they? As far as Westside, I'm saying. The other two, yes. But Westside is a combination of Latitude
correct.
and DD. So it's like 2.5 companies.
So the question really becomes, what's the focus? What's the emphasis for Matty in terms of, hey, if they say to him, hey, we'd really love for you, if you have a 15-disc bag, we're just going to make up a number. You have a 15-disc bag. We really want at least 10 of those to be genuine Westside discs, and the other 2 to 5 or 3 to 5 can be either Lat or Dynamic. I mean, I would love to know the internal workings of that conversation, or do they go extreme?
Specifically?
Yeah, and extremes may be a strong way to word it. I think of a Simon and an Eagle. Those boys don't throw Innova. Those boys don't throw
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. At a certain point, it was an exclusive Discmania that they were throwing for that tier or for those players specifically. So that's that to me is one of the most intriguing components to this, because a lot of people will say, oh, well, you're sponsored by Dynamic now, so that means you can throw all of those brands, and probably plenty of times you can. But
Usually
if you're a
does.
flagship player, if you are a
The face?
yeah, how much do they want you to be exclusively throwing those specific products? Because if you're investing that money, if they're writing that check, you would think they'd want you throwing that specific plastic. So
Yeah, because for Westside and Matty O, throwing Westside plastic, I wonder if there would be any sort of, I mean, I can't imagine, not to say animosity, but just awkwardness if his bag is 5 Westside discs, 7 Latitude discs.
that's what I'm saying.
And 10 DD discs.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And the sales, because I'm assuming if Westside is co-owned, and I don't know the numbers, if it's 50-50, if it's 60-40, I have no idea. But somebody might be getting a better deal, so to speak, than the other half of the company. So I can imagine that would be awkward. Now, hopefully, Matty O finds everything he wants
Right there in the Westside lineup.
in the Westside lineup. I know it's a pretty deep lineup, so
Mhm.
I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm sure it will all shake out for the best. But that's just again a nosy, and I always say all of the contract negotiations, all of the contract specifics to me are nothing more than us being inquisitive and ultimately nosy and curious about those things, and maybe we'll get to the bottom of that, or maybe we can ask him directly if we have them. I almost reached out to him earlier today, and then I saw he was looking for somebody to tell him what all the events were for 2022. So that told me he wasn't quite ready to talk about 2022 yet, if he was still looking for the schedule of 2022. And I thought maybe we'll get to him in a couple weeks. Might be our best bet. So,
But as Tim says, the best news is that we get Matty O for a full year.
I mean,
I don't know how many more Saban references. I'm gonna have to brush up on, some Roll Tide.
Yep.
It's
Yeah. all part of the Matty O plan.
his east of the Mississippi, west of the Mississippi
Yes.
designations.
Yes.
Yeah.
For when you can find good Mexican food.
That's right.
That guy has more insight than I'll ever even think. He's forgotten more insight than I'll ever even learn. That's for sure. He's got it all dialed in. We'll see. Maybe it'll be a stroller again. Maybe he'll get an upgrade or maybe something parallel to what he's got in terms of maybe they'll have his own Matty O custom stroller. I mean, there are all sorts of opportunities out there. So excited to see that. Also, something else that's just coming down the pipe that there was a little release today. Capital City Discs putting together a little skins match that they had a few days ago, or now maybe it's been a week or two. But I know Matt Graham from the Nick and Matt show ultimately did
Never
some
heard of it.
filming. I don't know. They're a woodworking show. I don't know what they do.
Oh, yes.
But anyway, he did some filming, and there was a skins match that has been put together, and I worked with them to put that on the Disc Golf Guy channel. So look for that
Cool.
to get released here very soon. I wanted to see if we had the specifics as to. No, I don't have it in front of me right now. But anyway, it's going to be released on my channel here very soon. Also coming probably tomorrow, Minnesota Amateur Championships, where we discovered the likes of Jordan Castro all those years ago.
We did.
I mean, there's some deep-rooted history.
Jordan Castro, who just released a podcast.
Yeah, now
I haven't listened to it yet. Sorry, Jordan. I understand. I will. I promise. I'll listen to it. But I've got a few long trips coming up here at Thanksgiving.
Who's he doing that with? Did you see? I
don't
because I
know
wondered
I
if he was.
recognize the name.
Is he's a co-host then? He's not. He wasn't just a guest. So
Yes,
to speak?
correct. I believe he is the co-host.
Okay, awesome.
And I think
That was one clarification I've been meaning to make because I did see that as well. I want to see if I can find it
I
for you
believe
guys.
the first episode had a lot to do with his the flight plate.
The flight plate. There it is.
I like that name.
It is the debut. We dive into Jordan's early years, his introduction to disc golf, going pro, and much more.
Yes, Tim Courts, it's a podcastro.
Hey-oh, I like that.
You win tonight, Tim. You win.
All right. Join Jordan. I don't see. I could have swore I saw a co-host.
Yeah,
maybe it is just Jordan. Is Jordan a one-man show?
No, I think
is he trying to outdo AJ Risley?
There is somebody else on that show. I just don't know who it is.
Okay. Well, yes. And yes, good call, Tim Courts. I like that.
Lots of behind-the-scenes stuff with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. You and I are working on some things. I know they've been having. I've been involved in meetings, lots of meetings, more meetings than I ever want to be involved in. They're talking about doing, looking at upgrades for some of the equipment in the off season, all sorts of fun, really boring stuff for everybody else, but necessities for us that will hopefully make the broadcasts even better than before. So look forward to some of that stuff coming up. And if you want to get real techie sometime, once everything breaks down, we'll nerd out some night.
Yeah, and as someone's posting on the board, also seeing that Thomas Gilbert, he is down in Florida, and it looks like
hanging with the Oakleys.
Yep, and going to be taking in a few tournaments and whatnot.
The new disc golf hotbed of Pensacola.
That is clearly where it's at. Eric, Tina. Madison Walker's been there now for quite some time, but then also seeing
Paige and Alyssa
move into town, and looks like a good time down there for sure.
Calvin swings through there.
There wasn't much else going on in terms of tournaments, and I know we kind of said that in the regular show, but just this weekend in general, things were very, very slow, which is somewhat surprising that it I don't want to say it went cold. I mean, I guess you. I wonder if this is the first. Is this the first weekend of the year, or only weekend of the year that didn't have an A tier? Like, does that sound like a crazy statement?
This past weekend and this upcoming weekend.
Wow,
I don't believe have A tiers, and there was supposed to be an A tier this past weekend. It was the Tallahassee.
Yeah,
event.
Correct. Actually,
so
the Open at Tallahassee
going to be an A tier, but it got canceled because next year
call.
It's a
Silver
Series event, so things got pushed back. We discussed that a few weeks ago. But yes, this was supposed to be Tallahassee, and that is not happening. So correct, there was no A tier.
And just to clarify earlier, it's the Capital Disc Open presented by Upper Park and driven by Innova. That's what had taken place. That was the event I was talking about a week or so ago, along with the skins match that will unfold. So look for that. That'll probably come out maybe Saturday. I think we talked about maybe releasing it Saturday morning, the skins match. Should be a good time.
You would love Succession, by the way.
All right, sell me on. That's a bold statement to say that I'd like it. I did finish up Squid Game, by the way, but go on with Succession.
Did you like Squid Game?
I had to watch the last 3 episodes, and here's what I'll say, without spoiling anything, of course. I don't know that I'm dying for season 2. Like, I've enjoyed it. It was definitely effed up. Very interesting concept. Everything else, I'm not on the edge of my seat saying, "Oh man, when season 2 comes out, I'm going to binge it," which I won't. But I have to binge that. And that's not to say it ended poorly. It just I don't know if I've gotten my fill. I don't know if I'll change my mind, now that I have seen them. And I don't know.
There are really good series that don't drive you to the next one. I felt that way about Better Call Saul, where it's when I'm watching it, it's great. But when it ends, I don't have that drive like, oh man, I can't wait for next season. When next season comes out, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I should watch that. I was watching that. It was good. But there's just not the passion. And maybe obviously it's different for every person because I get weird and passionate about other things that nobody probably else does, other TV shows, sci-fi stuff. I just finished watching Foundation. I thought it was decent. It wasn't great, but it was decent. So it was good enough to where when the second season comes out, I'll watch it. But Succession, you and I know you, Terry. I know you. I've known you for a while now. You would like Succession.
I would like
You would
Succession.
Like imagine. So, without, I guess, spoil the first episode. Imagine like I said, a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. The head guy, your Roger Ailes, you're the head of Fox News kind of guy. He has a health incident. One of his sons, he's got 4 kids, 3 sons and a daughter, assumes he's taking over the business, has been working in the business. The dad basically comes out of this surgery and says, "Oh yeah, I changed my mind. I am not retiring." And kind of it's corporate debauchery. It's
backstabbing, greed,
100% all of that.
Okay, I like you.
100% of all that. And I'm only through the first. I'm just about to finish up the first season. We'll probably watch
how many episodes?
10 a season. It's on HBO Max.
Oh,
I know.
So that's gonna be a challenge. Just send me your login.
I was gonna say. Technically, I think we have a login from the Smashbox account.
Okay. So, how many seasons are out right now?
Think they're in their 3rd season.
Wow. Okay. So there's some catch up opportunity there,
which is why I'm glad.
Okay. Okay. A couple seasons. Okay.
And you would love it. It's horrible in the right spots and like vile and disgusting and almost none of the characters are likable. Which there's one or two you're like, oh, okay, I understand that person, but even then they're like, every once in a while they make a decision, you're like, yeah, you're gonna get what you deserve, and most of the time they do. So I'm excited. I'm excited. Yeah, House of Lies.
Did you ever?
Yes, I watched the whole thing.
Okay, I was gonna say, did you watch that?
Kind of similar.
Okay, and I only say that because the
last few seasons of House of Lies weren't that great.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say only because somebody else had it, because I didn't. I was able to watch that like on demand up at our buddy Mike Schwieger's house. Schwieger, how you doing, buddy? And I got hooked on it, and I watched. This was many years ago, and I remember thinking, hey, the only time I can go see this is when I go visit Schwieger, and I stay up way past everyone else goes to bed at that house, and I really enjoyed it. And then at a certain point, I fell off of it. And obviously, when everybody talked about things, they always talked about House of Cards, and then I would always confuse myself if it was House of Cards, which I never got into, but House of Lies I really enjoyed. So as you were explaining it, I don't know, for some reason this started jumping out at me, but I really enjoy a number of the actors from House of Lies. Okay, so sounds like something I might have to look into.
You will definitely have to look into it. So. Because there's not a lot of the things I watch I know that you will enjoy. So when I do find one, I'm like, Terry, this is for you.
Another big budget ordeal that I know you're into that we very much both enjoy was Jake and Logan Paul fights. Finally coming out clean with a few details. It sounds like. Again, I've only gotten as far as just past the headlines. But lo and behold, some of those have been seemingly fixed. And
yes,
I know, but
that's kind of what everybody
had assumed or thought or maybe second guessed. It sounds like it's becoming more and more. And the only thing that is annoying about it,
one step above professional wrestling. It sounds like.
Yeah, and the only thing that's annoying about it for me is the countless people that will go die on the hill of how good he is and how good he's become and how serious we need to be taking him. And I'm not even into fighting or whatever. I know he's a YouTube star, or they are. But to then have it all come out in the wash that it was all in fact what a lot of people guessed or maybe second guessed, it just makes it that much more beautiful. And I'm just going to say, I know you usually I'm not a big fan of hating or disliking on others, but I can never find a positive reason to enjoy either of those personalities, being Jake or Logan Paul, and this just helps solidify that. That's sure. Not that anyone cares about my invalidation of those two, but it just seems so appropriate and fitting that you are the lying, conniving trash bags you appear to be. It seems like they kind of fit that. Anyway,
Tim Course asked, "Is Mike Tyson fighting one of them?"
I think that's exactly
I think
was in the works or is in the works.
I think there was talks about it. The funny thing is,
it sounded like it was pretty close to being like a done deal. That's part of why this is somewhat significant.
Think about watching, because I don't think Mike Tyson would fix a fight. I think he would just kill someone, like quite literally. Just
I broke my back. It's broken.
Just punch somebody's lights out.
I know, and that's
as opposed to like, did one of them fight
Mayweather? Yeah,
and Mayweather more or less kind of just milked it and kept it going. And
and there was like a no knockout clause within the fight of like he couldn't be knocked out, and some were saying like, hey, there's a part of the video where it looks like he accidentally knocks him out and he more or less holds him up.
Yeah,
so I
saw
mean,
a lot of that. So yeah,
and yet here we are talking. So I understand the irony. Trust me, they still win. I get it. It's just when somebody wants to like give the guys credit for being legitimate, just to all find out that they really never were or aren't. That's, I guess, is the hypocrisy is what I'm
super shocking. This is my shock.
I know. I can understand, and I know how deep you're into celebrity YouTuber boxing.
Oh my god, so deep.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, I don't know. Do we got anything on the board? We haven't called out to them too much, but if the board has anything, I'd love to hear it.
Any questions? Anything you guys want us to talk about? Anything we need to know? Would you guys know?
Yeah,
secrets
who's got the
don't?
goods? That's what I would love to hear.
Spill the beans, people. Spill the beans.
Yeah.
Because if it's on the board, if we know it, but it comes out on the board, then we can say it. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
that's just how it works.
That's not really like us, spoiling it or breaking any news by any means. Also, quick side note, I know we were talking about Pro Tour opportunities. Disc Golf Network continues to publish and put out some winter season content, keeping people up to date and involved with some things. We've got things like the rewatches that are taking place. Scratch to Scratch, I know, is taking place. In some of those various seasons. I think we're talking about a putting league potentially being broadcast and some other things. So just so you know, stuff continues to be happening over there, which is awesome.
Tim Court says he heard the Pro-Am at Funky Farms was fixed.
Oh, yeah.
Eagle
against me.
Eagle threw the match.
He certainly did. Right into the woods.
Into a tree repeatedly. It's funny because it's funny.
Yeah. It certainly
to you.
Was a lot of fun to be there, that's for sure. Matt says, Phil Dahlhauser. I apologize. I don't know how to pronounce it. Olympic gold medalist won C Pool at my triples tourney I ran this past weekend. He says he had a blast and will be playing more events. That's awesome, Matt. Was it you, Matt, or was it someone else?
He's a Swiss American beach volleyball player.
Yeah, that had reached out, and I know that Phil is very interested, and it was a little too late for him to be involved with the Celebrity Pro-Am this last year.
Oh, that's correct.
I know that conversation took place, but I think it just took place super late. But that's awesome to hear that he's playing. I mean, if he gets too good though, then I don't know, might get a little dicey at that Pro-Am. Sam Martin asked me, any chance you have Erica Stinchcomb swords? And I do not. Unfortunately, I did not stockpile. I do not have any of those. I'll just say long story short, I do not have any, unfortunately, for you. Somebody did ask me today, and I know this won't help you either, but somebody did reach out to me who I haven't talked to in I feel like a few years, and said, hey, do you have any Prodigy D2 Airs? And unfortunately, I had said I do not, and I just thought it was funny. She kind of just randomly reached out to me, and truth be told, I do have a lot of random items, but that is not one that I had any in stock of. So if you're wondering, I don't have any. Anyone else out there?
So what are your plans for Thanksgiving? Thursday, it's Tuesday night right now. A lot of you guys will be listening.
Yeah,
this on
Thursday. A large family gathering of a lot of people.
Where at Madison or
no, in here in the we'll say the Milwaukee area.
Okay.
I don't know if it's 33 or 37 or 39 total people, but it's a lot of people.
I love that.
Certainly not hosting in my little condo. So yeah, that's about it for Thursday. And then Friday it rolls right into final preparations for the cold turkey tournament that I talked about earlier. Yep. But absolutely nothing out of the ordinary or crazy. Yeah, I will try not to get larger is pretty much my only goal for Thursday because I've done plenty of that. So that's about it. Yes.
I have nowhere to go with that.
Yeah, that's right. You don't.
I can't prove or disprove what you're saying. I can only trust you.
It doesn't. Yeah, trust me. I'm not fishing for anything but the truth that I know.
Lots of football going on. The big Lions-Bears game on Thanksgiving should be an absolute disaster. And
okay.
Everybody's starting quarterback is out, and it's just going to be a miserable game, which might actually make it a fun game to watch.
Yeah, correct. When you're in the cellar like that, right? Mm-hmm. Ray says, I'm psyched about the... Okay, you just said that. It was me. He coaches my daughter in beach volleyball. Matt. Oh, okay. Matt was saying that earlier. Awesome. Yeah, that is very cool, Matt. And again, hopefully if there's a celebrity pro-am, which I can't say I know any details of or can share any with, but if something of that nature takes place, it sounds like he'd be a great candidate to be involved. Tim says hopefully the turkey kicks in before he falls asleep. And speaking of Bears, fans were chanting to fire him when he was attending his kid's sporting event.
That's Nagy, the coach.
Oh,
that's kind of.
Is that good?
No, that's bad.
Okay.
That's even for Bears fans, that's like it's your kid's sporting event. Just you're there to watch your kid play. Now, I feel that's a little off limits.
No, he was talking about the Bears coach, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fans were chanting to fire him when he was attending his
kid's sporting event.
Yeah,
okay,
so like
sorry,
you're at your kid's sporting event, and the people there are chanting to get you to get fired. Like, I feel
I'm watching a swim meet, but I want you fired as the Bears head coach. Okay, yeah,
that's a little off limits. Terry, do you have any FDs?
I do.
I'm sure you do,
but those are hidden. Those are
buried.
way hidden. And a little quick story about some of the many things that's gone through my mind with discs throughout the years. A lot of times when discs would come out and they don't seem to hit, they don't seem to be popular, and I'll go as far as saying they just sit around and collect dust. And I'm not going to name all the models and companies throughout the years, but that certainly happens. Not every disc is a banger, as the kids say these days, right?
No, they discontinued the banger.
Yeah. No, actually, I think they still make it now, or they brought it back because somehow it got popular again. But anyway, sometimes, and then someone like me, I don't want to say I won't ever really liquidate. I'm not a big fan of selling below retail cost. I feel like that cheapens everyone's experience, and it's just a. I don't like it. And so if I have a hard time getting rid of something, or if something's just not selling, it probably gets thrown in a box or in a bin, and sometimes it sits there forever. There's a few places that I also stock stores, and let's be honest, sometimes there may be a gas station right near a course where, quite frankly, someone wouldn't even know the difference between an FD and a 3D and a QR, or any given disc. And sometimes you can, I hate to use the word offload, but sometimes you could put a disc in that scenario, and quite frankly, it doesn't matter. The person that's buying that disc at the gas station, probably for an inflated gas station price, isn't going to really notice the difference between one disc or another. Or it actually might be a great disc. Let's face it. Almost every disc that comes off an assembly line is probably a good disc. It's just a matter of, does it hit any form of popularity with the right user base?
In the right region, because something that's popular here in Milwaukee, if you're stocking a gas station up in Appleton, for whatever reason, there might be a local pro that plays with the FD that loves it, and so it is slightly more popular up
100%
there.
regional. Yeah, I mean, again, going way back.
Carolina Chainbangers basically says, "Can you sell them an FD?"
No, I'll continue though. But going way back, like you couldn't give Discraft away in some portions of Wisconsin when Johnny and I started. It was a very less popular product at the time. But just a few miles west of us, over in Minnesota, and also east of us in Michigan, Discraft ruled the roost.
Yep.
Just very popular due to local players and so on. Obviously, we've seen a lot of shifts throughout the years. This has been a very Innova State, old school Innova State. Barry Schultz coming out of here and a number of other players. So sometimes these discs will, I guess what I'm saying is sometimes they'll kind of sit around, or they'll just, I've got 10 FDs that nobody really cared about at one point. Or when Discmania, just to be brutally blunt and honest, Discmania wasn't that popular when it came out. Not here in the U.S.
Nope.
Especially when they had the various European names, the Jackal,
the Psycho,
the Psycho. They had all the names on the disc.
Craze,
Craze, yep. And they weren't that popular. It's no disrespect to them. They just simply weren't. Sprinkle in a little Simon and Eagle and more variety, more courses, more everything, more players, and things obviously have certainly evolved. So I guess my story is I can now occasionally dig back into the bins and be like, oh, I've got 5 of these Craze. And then I have to go look it up. Was the Craze really the TD or the FD or the whatever? And just simply renamed to this day. That's been one of the fun parts, honestly, of hoarding and collecting and having discs throughout all these years, is to see that evolution and to see that I don't want to call it a progression, just that cycle, those cycles. Like, let's face it, I didn't know the Destroyer was going to be super popular, but that didn't stop me from tucking away 15 to 20 Proto Star stamped Star Destroyers that are worth like $200 to $300 a piece right now. But I also have plenty of other first run Proto Star stamp discs that I'd be lucky to get $20 for. Yeah, I mean,
I've got a Proto Star stamped Raven.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Let me get my bills out.
Whip out your pocketbook, Terry Miller. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
Raven, Terry. You can't get those everywhere, let me tell you.
You can't get them anywhere.
They are out of production.
I mean, I have a box of 23 Proto Star stamped Wahoos.
Wahoo!
I have them somewhere.
What the going rate for that is, will you ship it to me for free?
But I said this all comes back full circle because I was vending one time this summer, and a gentleman came up and he showed me his discs. I was like, wow, what nice discs you have. And he is on the hunt for quarter 2s or quarter Ks.
Oh, I have one.
The disc wing driver. He's like, I can't find these.
No,
I'm like,
they don't make them.
I'm like, no,
there's probably 20 in our state.
No, because I have about 40 of them in my storage.
So there's probably 50 in our state. You have 40, I have 1, and there's probably about 10 more scattered throughout the state.
And he was losing his mind about the fact that he was trying to get his hands on more. He couldn't find them anywhere. And I looked at him, and again, it was one of those discs that had an insane amount of hype. And if you're old school, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
We've talked about this before.
They had all this hype around it, and then they never hit.
Did you tell him you had 40 of them?
Maybe. Someday I'll dig them out. Someday. But anyway, so I think the answer is no. I don't have an FD for you.
He's not saying he doesn't have them. He doesn't have one for you.
I don't necessarily have one for sale.
We still need to do our go through Terry's bins series.
Yes, that will happen. I'm trying to get my hands on more bins. I've got some. I want to fill more bins, and then that will help continue the organization of where this is heading. But I'm going to get some more bins for sure. All right, we got a Patreon drawing. Why don't you cue that all up? And we'll get that going as I'll continue to look at the board. Somebody said, Tear Bear, got any Z-Flex? Z-Flex.
What? Yeah.
Z-Flex zones? I got lots of probably random Z-Flex stuff.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is that you were looking for. Kid Rock has a new song out. If you want to listen to that,
have you seen it?
No, I have not.
It is worth it, Terry Miller.
Really?
It is worth it. I saw it this morning. I managed to make it through the whole thing. After the show, I will show it to Terry.
All right. Give me a hint of no. Just give me a hint of style. Like, is it
again? Let's put it this way. Weird Al made a post and said, "Stop thanking me for this video. This is not me. It is actually Kid Rock." Kid Rock has managed to make the perfect parody video of himself.
Wow.
It is beautiful. At one point, Terry, he rides a rocket shaped like a middle finger into outer space. This video looks like we could have made it in our basement with a green screen. It's so good. It's
good. So bad it's good.
Yes, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that is the edge of my seat. That's
I'm just saying, we're gonna watch it. But before we watch it, we're gonna give something away. We have 182 people eligible for our Patreon giveaway this week. Patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. For as little as $1 a month, you can help support Smashbox. It's really the only way we're supported.
Yeah. I don't support him otherwise.
Yeah. We are listener supported thanks to you guys. So again, if you're at the $10 level, the clothing level, you should be getting a sweatshirt, not a zip up, just a sweatshirt, a pullover sweatshirt. Once I finalize that with Miles, I'm just going to try to finalize colors at this point. I told him not the typical gray sweatshirt. I don't want that. Let's look for something a little different.
Nothing Heather Gray, huh?
Nothing Heather Gray. No, I don't want that typical old school gray sweatshirt look. I want something with a little more pop. So we'll be getting that. So patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. Terry Miller, we have 182 people eligible for our giveaway this week. What in the world should we do?
I'm thinking we're gonna go. We're going all in on just the very first number. Like the very first number that is drawn on our random.org generator. That will correspond to the Patreon spreadsheet, as you just mentioned, and we'll give some action away. We have so much to be thankful for, including our gracious Patreon subscribers and supporters. So thank you guys, as Johnny just mentioned.
I'm going to hit this button and hit generate, and it's going to pop up with the number 172. They're sorted by email address, Terry. 172. So let me
email address. So it's gonna this email address 172 out of 182 is gonna probably start with a W.
Oh, Tim, you were so close. You were one off, Tim Courts. It's Tim Lucas. Tim Lucas. Congratulations, Tim Lucas. You are the winner tonight of the Patreon.com giveaway. Tim Lucas. Yeah, Tim Courts. You were one off. Went Timothy Donegan, Tim Lucas, Tim Courts, then Tyler Brickley. Sorry, buddy. Next time.
Tim Lucas. Yeah, again, thank you so much, Tim Courts. And I think I said it last week, but I'll say it again. Tim Courts worked with me to generate an incredible graphic. That's not going to be on a T-shirt this weekend, but it will be on a T-shirt very soon. Again, I'll take the blame for... We'll call it an ordering challenge.
Rightfully so.
But thank you, Tim, so much for the assist. And if any of you need graphic design work done, reach out to Tim Courts. I hope you don't mind I pitch you there, Tim.
Yeah.
But reach out to Tim Courts. Just incredible. And the fact that he could take my little vision and turn it into a reality the way he did, and very quickly at that. I can't say enough. So look for the next shirt that I release as the Disc Golf Guys shirt. Look for that next iteration of shirts, and that will be done by your very own Tim Quartz, who's out on the board as a Smashy. So we appreciate it, buddy.
Terry, what is your favorite part of the Thanksgiving meal?
Oh.
Are you a stuffing guy? Are you a mashed potatoes guy?
No.
I love me some mashed potatoes.
This isn't really quote unquote traditional.
Pie.
Yeah. This is a little bit more specific,
Qdoba.
which actually, yeah. Oh man, the queso dip, the fiery queso dip from the Qdoba Thanksgiving dinner offering. Now, you can appreciate this. Most of our viewers will not.
Okay.
The one of the staples of Thanksgiving growing up for many, many years, one of the staples at my grandmother's house, or one of her houses, was always the offering of the freshest lefse. And I was usually presented with or graced or had the opportunity to enjoy lefse mainly twice a year, and Thanksgiving being one, and then Christmas being the next. It's too bad they were so close to one another and not spread out throughout the year. But it not really a Thanksgiving. I wouldn't consider it a Thanksgiving tradition necessarily. But it was to me.
It is in this area of the country. It's not necessarily Thanksgiving, but it's fall/winter appropriate. That is. There's a couple places, and I'll probably get some this weekend up in Door County that sells. They make fresh lefse every day, and they sell it in these big, thick packets. Sometimes we've frozen it in the past, and then you bring it out, the ones you want, into the fridge. In the past, we've made it fresh ourselves, where you take the rice. Basically, if you're not familiar, lefse is like imagine a tortilla shell, that size and style, but made out of potatoes and flour. So it's more or less just that. And you usually, most people just put butter on it. Some people will add things like cinnamon or sugar. I don't like any of that. Just give me it straight with butter, and it's a good vehicle just to shove butter in my face.
Yeah, and if you look it up, it's LEFSE, Norwegian, and this is just per our friends at Wikipedia. Donate to them; they need it. By the way, they tell me. Lefse is a traditional soft Norwegian flatbread. It is often made with potatoes, flour, butter, and milk, cream, or lard. It is cooked on a large flat griddle. Special tools are used to prepare lefse, including long wooden turning sticks and a special roller pins with deep grooves. And it very much my family upbringing. 100% in the with the Norwegian heritage. I'm not blood related to them, but within the Norwegian heritage, and just something like Johnny here that now you were not graced or privy to it or part of it until your current day wife, correct? And her family? Did you have it growing up?
Yeah, we had it a little bit growing up. Not nearly to what the extent of my wife's family. They literally, I stepped into a family where they would make it fresh. Where I remember the first time they were like, "Oh, we're gonna make some lefse," and I think it was the second or third year I was
courting her.
I was invited to the family.
Were,
and so they brought out like multiple lefse, like hot plates, basically. They look like a griddle, but it's in a circular shape. And everybody, it's called ricing. You rice the potatoes because you put it through a masher multiple times, and then you salt it and flour and a little bit of milk, and then you take a rolling pin. And let me say, there are two things in life I hate. One is caulking, because I'm just not good at it, and the other I'm not good at either. Anything having to do with a fucking rolling pin. I hate rolling things out. Period. I'm not good at it. I get really frustrated, and people, everyone's like, "Oh, just add more flour to the rolling pin." Oh, but not that much flour. Oh, you need enough so it doesn't stick. No, screw that. I hate it. I hate it with a passion.
Yeah,
more than anything. So if I can't be done with my hands, I don't make it. Rolling pins are the worst.
Yeah, you and Luda roll out.
Roll out. That's right.
No.
So anyway, after that point, you roll it out into very, very thin. Then you put it on the hot plate, so to speak. You take the 2 long sticks, you slide it under, and you're able to flip it over, and you cook it. So
yeah, so that by far, again.
But yeah, we grew up with it a little bit through my because I'm Norwegian and Dutch, so we had it available to us at times. But ultimately, it wasn't until recently when I have eaten it a lot more. The last 10 to 15 years, we eat a ton of it.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's funny because actually, if you weren't turned on to it early, it's not something you'd seek out and be like, oh my God, where's this been all my life? I feel like it's something. I don't know. Most people that I've shared it with or tried to offer it to that have had it leave unimpressed, and which is too bad because it's just, again, maybe there's some nostalgia and it's just something I grew up and love. So, and you said Thanksgiving, you're all about the mashed potatoes.
Yeah, give me a good old plate of mashed potatoes and gravy. Love it. I will just, and specifically my grandmother's mashed potatoes.
Oh,
always the best, better than the rest. Simply the best.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Your grandma Ben Franklin or Aunt Jemima? Which potato box do they come out of? They're not instant.
Not instant. No, this it's just the right amount of lump to it. Like my in-laws, they make mashed potatoes, but it's not that good.
No,
like,
ouch.
It's very much like a whipped mashed potato. There's no consistency. There's no lump to it. It just
it's like potato fluff.
Kind of like it's like and it's not out of a box, but they just whip it so much that it's like a cream almost, and it's like that's not my style. Give me some.
I don't want potato fluff.
Give me some thick.
Yeah, your lovely lady lump. Check them out. Okay, all right. Well,
Derple Hayes says, could this conversation get any more Wisconsin? And I backed it up and said, sure, we could start talking about some cribbage.
Yeah, exactly.
So
some cribbage and maybe talking about some old fashions at the bar and or something like that.
I'm bringing up some old Packer stories.
Yeah, the Pack, the Magic Man. Sam says, my daughter and I have been making pumpkin pie cheesecakes the past 4 years. Beats any pie. Well, since we're here, I'll just say it. Apple pie, usually my favorite, only if cherry cheesecake is not available. But cherry cheesecake is my ultimate go-to. The cherry cheesecake.
Apple for me. My wife makes a phenomenal apple pie.
Yeah, it is good. I would like one.
And actually, she's
next week.
She's making 2 of them tomorrow.
Okay. Well, she needs to make a third. So when I come back next time,
I know. So because it was requested that we bring up apple pie. My grandmother is not doing well right now. She's 91 or 92, and just started dialysis. So. For whatever that's worth. And so we're trying to take a bunch of the things she used to do for Thanksgiving off her plate. And one of those things was requested apple pies. She used to make all sorts of apple and cherry, and there was always a selection of pies available for Thanksgiving. But now my wife will be bringing in a couple of apple pies, so I'm excited for that. Like they might not just make it out of the car, and it might just be here next week. You might just see us sitting here eating apple pies. Terry and I.
That'll be the whole show. We're just sitting here eating apple pies. That sounds like a good call. Also, wanted to give a quick shout out. Our good buddy. Arguably one of the most influential humans in my life and all-around superstars and just amazing people. Tom Big Daddy Jenkins celebrating a birthday today, and I wanted to get a shout-out in there.
Birthday, Daddy J.
He doesn't listen to us. He's listened to us for 20-some years in person, so he knows better. He turned 63 today. And my quick story and how he got the name Daddy Jenkins was that he showed up to my house in the year 1996, July of 96, and he had showed up to my house where me and 2 other good friends were also waiting for him, and he picked us up. We drove almost straight to Tennessee to play one of the Nashville courses, and then we stopped. I don't remember where else. Oh, we stopped at Mount Airy first. Sorry, Mount Airy in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. Then we went to Tennessee. We played that course because that's what Disc Golf Journal told us to do. An actual newspaper told us those were the best courses. So we went there. That was pre-internet, folks. And then we ventured on to Augusta, Georgia, where Tom Daddy Jenkins was, in essence, my legal guardian. I was just 17 at that point, and he took me to us, really.
Not me. That was
no, me and two other good friends at the time.
A year or two before me.
My first ever amateur world championships, and that was Augusta, 1996. And
so hosted by Brian Graham?
Yeah, hosted by Brian Graham, who's back with the PDGA again, and in the Augusta area. But that started my string of 20 consecutive world championships that I had competed in, and he took me to my very first one, and very much shaped and molded into a tournament director and a course designer, and just general preparations, and just an all around one of my favorite humans in the world. So. And Johnny and I have known him and loved him for many years. So happy birthday to Daddy J. We love you, buddy. I think we can close out on that note, actually. I can't think of a better one other than old Daddy J. No relation, by the way, because he has met and hung out with some of the Jenkins family. No relation to Avery Jenkins and
or Val.
Or Val, yeah. Or I was going to say, or Sharon, or any of the Jenkins family and clan, but same last name. And funny enough, when you transpose his PDGA number 9582 and 9852, you get Johnny McRae. So sometimes at a tournament, I'll accidentally, as good as I am with PDGA numbers, I'll put in Johnny McRae's when I really meant Daddy J's, because it's just transposing two numbers. But again, another great human. So we love you guys. We thank you so much for coming along with this silly little journey that is our podcast, week in and week out. We thank all of our guests that continue to join us, whether they have something new and crazy and exciting to announce, or we just want to catch up and find out what's been happening or what their future looks like, playing along with our silly questions and our fun little ride that is our weekly podcast. We can't thank you guys enough at home, and all of the people that are out there in a long semi ride or sitting at a piece of machinery or taking a long jog or whatever you're doing. The fact that you tune in and listen to us week in and week out and support us, we thank you so much. We're very grateful that you're along for the silly ride that we're on. So for Johnny V and myself, have a great Thanksgiving. Hug and love all your close ones, and heck, maybe even hug an enemy or two. And hopefully we can make things all a little bit better amongst us. We're going to sign off. This has been podcast episode 378. Of course, we'll be back with you next week, post cold turkey.
Oh,
That's where all the hype is this weekend, the cold turkey. So we love you guys. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smash Box.